Deep within the Silver Dragon dungeon, two imposing guards stand watch over a heavily barred gate. An elegant figure arrives, her steps crackling with an undeniable magical energy. The stoic guards immediately recognize the visitor, snapping to attention for their queen. She commands her guards to leave, intending to confront the prisoner in private. The Silver Dragon Queen, Rosweisa, reveals herself in all her intimidating glory. She approaches her captive, the so-called great dragon-slaying hero, with a mocking tone. The hero, though beaten and bound, meets her gaze with cold defiance, making a single grim request. His plea for a swift end only seems to amuse the queen, a cruel smile playing on her lips. Leaning in, she appraises him like a work of art, finding his resolute nature rather intriguing. But she believes he's not quite finished, suggesting a few more perfecting touches are in order. The hero grits his teeth, enduring her touch with a look of pure agony. He pleads for her to stop the humiliation and grant him a quick death instead. The queen counters with a surprising offer, suggesting he was framed and should join her clan. But the hero turns the tables with a defiant smirk, questioning if she is truly worthy of him. His audacious response shatters her composure, her eyes widening in pure disbelief. In a flash of rage, she blasts him across the chamber with a devastating strike. He coughs amidst the rubble, battered but not yet broken from the powerful impact. She instantly closes the distance, pinning the defiant prisoner under her foot. Looming over him, she mocks his former life as the celebrated hero, Leon Cosmode. Her expression turns venomous as she tells him to accept his fate as a forgotten loser. She cruelly reminds him that his heroic lineage is destined to end with him. A smug smile crosses her face as she points out his unfortunate lack of an heir. But Leon glares back, warning her never to underestimate the will of humans. Her tail whips around his throat in a blur of motion, silencing his defiance. With a flick of her tail, she hoists him into the air, finding his resistance merely tiresome. He struggles for breath, his hands clawing uselessly at the scaly restraint. As his vision darkens, he seems to finally utter a word of submission. A victorious smirk spreads across her face, certain he is about to plead for mercy. Yet through the pain, he reveals this was all a ploy, claiming she has made two fatal mistakes. Her triumphant expression vanishes, replaced by confusion as he reveals her first error, facing him alone. He reveals her second, more critical error: she should never have let him bleed. With a furious glare, his eyes ignite with a crimson sigil, activating a hidden power. The queen's own eyes flash red as she realizes she's fallen victim to a potent blood curse. As the curse takes hold, her tail loosens, allowing the hero to finally break free. She staggers backward, completely caught off guard by the sudden and bizarre counterattack. An unnatural heat floods her senses, leaving her flustered and confused by the strange sensation. Her body betrays her as she collapses to the floor, trembling and losing her composure. The mighty queen is utterly bewildered, unable to comprehend the chaos erupting within her. He informs her that the curse has bound their souls, promising her a lifetime of shared agony. Overwhelmed by the curse's effects, her proud expression crumbles into one of pure distress. Driven by an uncontrollable impulse, the queen suddenly lunges toward the bewildered hero. The curse overwhelms her completely, causing her to pin him to the ground in a daze. Leon is utterly baffled by her erratic behavior, questioning the sudden turn of events. Her mind is a whirlwind of confusing sensations as the blood curse continues to ravage her senses. Acting on an impulse she can't comprehend, she closes the distance between them in a startling way. In that moment of shock, Leon begins to understand the true, unforeseen nature of his curse. An hour later, the dungeon floor is littered with discarded clothing and broken shackles. The crimson glow in her eyes finally begins to fade, leaving her in a state of quiet contemplation. She slowly comes to her senses, trying to piece together the disorienting events that transpired. Her confusion swiftly turns to fury as she glares at the man responsible for her humiliation. The enraged queen demands to know what he has done to her, her composure completely shattered. He calmly explains the forbidden blood curse, a once-in-a-lifetime technique that has now bound their souls together. She scoffs at his explanation, questioning how a curse meant to activate upon his death could have caused the recent chaos. Leon admits the curse's immediate intimate effects were an unforeseen accident he never intended. Overwhelmed by humiliation and fury, she screams at him to stop talking. A cunning smirk plays on his lips as he brings up the dragon's strict tradition of monogamy. The horrifying implication dawns on her. His death will leave her unable to take a new mate or produce an heir. He coolly reminds her of her earlier mockery, pointing out that now she too is destined to have no successor. Snapping in a fit of rage, she gathers a torrent of destructive energy, ready to end him. He calmly raises a hand, reminding her that killing him is pointless, as his life is already fading. He condemns her to a lifetime of shared hatred and pain, his final curse as a human. Rendered speechless, the queen struggles to regain her composure, the curse's glow still visible in her eyes. She advances on him, infuriated that a human would use such a devious method for revenge. Refusing to grant him an easy escape through death, she begins to channel her powerful magic. A glowing magical seal materializes on his chest, a desperate attempt to preserve his fading life. The story flashes back, revealing the past of Leon Cosmode, the legendary dragon-slaying hero. At just 5 years old, his innate bravery led him to be discovered by a top dragon slayer, who accepted him as an apprentice. By 10, he had enrolled in the Imperial Dragon Slayer Academy, graduating 4 years later with the highest evaluation in its history. At only 15, he joined the war against the dragons, quickly racking up an impressive kill count for the Empire. His unmatched prowess on the battlefield cemented his status as the Empire's greatest hero and only hope for victory. The story jumps forward 2 years, with Leon finally awakening from his near-death state. He jolts upright with a startled cry, his eyes wide with alarm and confusion. Catching his breath, he struggles to piece together his fragmented memories and current situation. His confusion deepens as he finds himself not in a dungeon, but in a lavishly decorated, sun-drenched bedroom. His attention is drawn to the doorway, where a small, curious girl is peeking in at him. The adorable child greets him with a bright, cheerful smile, happy to see him awake. Leon is completely disarmed by her cuteness, his tough hero persona melting away in an instant. He comically rationalizes that he must have died and gone to heaven as a reward for his heroic deeds. Convinced of his theory, he confidently identifies the little girl as a legendary angel, much to her bewilderment. He leans in with a gentle smile, kindly asking the mysterious little girl for her name. The little girl brightly announces her name is Muen. Leon finds her name charming, but privately notes her peculiar black and white hair. She explains her mother told her the name means the moon, leaving Leon to ponder the concept of angelic mothers. He introduces himself as Leon Cosmode, and Muen excitedly recognizes that his name means lion. Surprised by her knowledge, he learns that her mother was the one who told her. A dreadful suspicion begins to form as he cautiously asks for her mother's identity. Muen proudly reveals her mother as Rosweisa, a name that completely shatters Leon's reality. He struggles to connect the dots, realizing if Rosweisa is her mother, then he must be... The little girl gleefully finishes his thought, declaring him to be her father. This earth-shattering revelation sends Leon into a state of pure, unadulterated shock. He clutches his head, struggling to process the impossible truth that he and Rosweisa have a child. His head snaps up as a voice from the doorway confirms his worst fears. Rosweisa appears, her daughter excitedly announcing that her father is finally awake. The queen greets him with a smug calm, a stark contrast to his own frantic disbelief. Muen innocently reveals that her mother visited his bedside every single day. Rosweisa's forced agreement does little to fool Leon, who sees right through her act. She gently dismisses her daughter, wanting to have a private conversation with her former captive. Leon confronts her directly, only for the queen to coolly confirm that Muen is indeed their biological daughter. Her tail thrashes with irritation as she points out his obvious hatred for her. He backs away, demanding to know why she would save him and give birth to their child. She reminds him of his 2-year slumber, questioning if he truly believes she could forgive his actions. He retorts furiously, insisting their encounter was an unwanted consequence of their opposing sides. She leans closer with a mocking grin, finding his admission that her touch is torture quite amusing. In a flash, her powerful tail wraps around his leg, immobilizing him completely. With a flick of her tail, she effortlessly throws him onto the bed, catching him off guard. She quickly moves to pin him down, leaving him to question her sudden and aggressive actions. With a powerful tug, she rips his shirt open, exposing his chest for what's to come. A sinister magical seal forms in her hand as she reveals her plan to carve her dragon pattern onto him. She presses the seal to his skin, declaring it a mark of shame that will bind him to her as her eternal prisoner. With the brand now glowing on his chest, she savors her victory, taunting him with how humanity will now perceive their fallen hero. Writhing in agony from the seal, he questions the sheer extent of her cruelty. She leans in, explaining that he simply doesn't understand the dragon race's unique concept of revenge. With a cruel smile, she declares her intent to make him live a life of eternal shame and humiliation. But as the seal burns, an unexpected and overwhelming sensation washes over Leon. She pins him down, ready to begin her twisted form of revenge, a great honor from her perspective. The scene shifts to the majestic exterior of the Silver Dragon Castle, where time has passed. Inside, two maids gossip about the queen's unusually cheerful mood since her husband awoke. Leon overhears them, seething at the realization she has publicly claimed him. He recalls the exhausting and chaotic events that followed the curse, leaving him utterly drained. Fueled by indignation, he clenches his fist, vowing he will never be her plaything. Determined to escape, Leon begins scouting the castle grounds for a way out. He quickly dismisses the side gate as an option, noting the 4 dragon guards standing watch. Leaning against a wall, he finds the castle's current quietness unsettlingly different from 2 years ago. His planning is interrupted as he spots something unexpected in the nearby bushes. To his surprise, he discovers a crudely dug hole, a potential but mysterious escape route. He cautiously inspects the dark tunnel, immediately suspecting it could be a trap. Overwhelmed with the need to leave, he decides to take the risk regardless of the danger. With a final look back, he vows to return for Muen, leaving the queen to her own devices for now. Unbeknownst to him, his daughter Muen excitedly points out his cool escape attempt to her mother. Lounging by the pool, Rosweisse calmly watches his efforts, admitting to her daughter that she's already seen it. Muen excitedly asks her mother when she plans on retrieving her father. Rosweisse gently corrects her daughter's choice of words, finding the situation highly amusing. The little girl innocently asks for a more appropriate term to use for the occasion. With a predatory grin, the queen suggests "catch him back" is a much better phrase. Sometime later, Leon sprints through a dense forest, putting distance between himself and the castle. He pushes onward, knowing that just beyond the mountains lies the safety of human lands. He stops to catch his breath, cautiously hoping he has finally outrun the Dragon Queen. But a sudden shadow overhead makes his expression freeze in utter disbelief. His worst fear is realized as Rosweisse descends from the sky in her terrifying dragon form. She mockingly compliments his running skills, causing him to cry out in pure frustration. Leon stands his ground, staring up at the colossal Dragon Queen who has blocked his path. She taunts him, clearly enjoying this game of cat and mouse she's orchestrated. The queen smugly reveals that his seemingly smooth escape was entirely her doing, a trap from the start. He grits his teeth, admitting he suspected a trap, but was surprised by how quickly she caught him. She questions his plan, reminding him that the dragon seal on his chest will make him an outcast among his own people. Leon defiantly declares he would rather start a new life as a commoner than endure her torment. His defiance enrages her, and she accuses him of failing to appreciate her twisted form of kindness. In a swift motion, her massive claw descends and snatches him from the ground. As she carries him through the sky, she mockingly offers to help him return to human territory. 3 hours later, they arrive near the Empire's border city under the cover of darkness. Without warning, she releases her grip, sending him plummeting towards the ground below. He smashes through the dense forest canopy, his descent barely slowed by the breaking branches. Leon crashes into the earth with a jarring impact, crying out from the rough landing. He clutches his head, groaning in pain as he struggles to recover from the fall. But a sudden realization cuts through the pain, his eyes narrowing with focus. Standing on a cliff's edge, he's stunned to see the familiar lights of a human settlement. He stares in disbelief, wondering if he's truly looking at a town from his homeland. Rosweisse appears beside him, confirming that he is indeed gazing upon the human empire. She mocks him, asking if seeing his home makes him believe he can simply step back into his old life. With a cruel smile, she shatters his hope, telling him that return is impossible, no matter how close it seems. Leon stares in alarm as the dragon seal on his chest begins to glow with an intense, unfamiliar energy. She reveals a shocking new detail. The mark reacts whenever one of them feels a strong desire for the other. She mocks his pained expression, describing the overwhelming sensations the mark is causing her, and questions his motives. Gazing towards the town, she reveals her ultimate plan, to make him experience true shame so close to his home. He clutches the glowing seal, defiantly asking if she thinks this petty torment is enough to break his will. Seizing her arm, he furiously vows to wait for his chance and repay this humiliation twice over. His fierce declaration leaves her momentarily speechless, a faint blush creeping onto her cheeks. Recovering her composure, she agrees to his terms with a sly, knowing smile. She leans in, whispering that she'll be waiting for his attempt at revenge, dead or alive. The scene shifts to a large, ancient tree near the Empire's border, marking a change in time and place. She seems utterly satisfied with the outcome of their intense encounter. Looking back at the drained hero, she compliments his surprising resilience. With a devious smile, she proposes a new form of torture, monthly visits to the border of his homeland. He angrily sits up, seeing right through her scheme to slowly break his spirit. She turns to leave, her magical aura flaring as she reminds him that their daughter is waiting. He suddenly calls out, causing the queen to pause and look back in confusion. Refusing to be treated like her prize, he declares he will walk back to the castle on his own terms. She scoffs at his pride, pointing out the arduous journey would take a human weeks to complete on foot. Intrigued by his defiance, she accepts his challenge, eager to see just how long his human endurance will last. Sometime later, an exhausted Leon pushes through the dense forest, already feeling the strain of the long walk. The long trek begins to take its toll, leaving Leon panting and struggling to continue. Roswitha appears behind him, mockingly questioning if he's already too tired to walk, but he stubbornly refutes her. She scoffs at his bravado, remarking that his tough talk is the only thing not exhausted. Their bickering is cut short as a sound in the distance catches both of their attentions. He peers through the trees and is stunned to see a patrol from the Dragon Slayer army, his former comrades. A surge of hope fills him as he realizes this could be his chance to finally escape her clutches. Roswitha's expression darkens, her displeasure at the soldier's presence written all over her face. His hope dies as he realizes calling for help would only get them all slaughtered by the enraged queen. The patrol's leader halts his men, calling out into the woods after spotting the pair. As the soldier asks if they are lost, Leon awkwardly tries to shield the Dragon Queen from view. Thinking fast, Leon puts on a friendly smile, claiming they're just enjoying a stroll to protect the soldiers. The soldier kindly warns them about the dangers of the forest and offers them a ride back to safety. He introduces himself as Captain Walker of the Dragon Slayer army, a name that resonates deeply with Leon. Leon frantically waves the captain away, insisting they are fine and can defend themselves. The captain's eyes narrow with suspicion, feeling an unnerving sense of familiarity as he studies Leon's face. Behind him, Roswitha's patience wears thin, her eyes flashing with irritation at the prolonged interaction. Sensing her murderous intent, Leon glances back in alarm as a sinister magic begins to form in her hand. He acts in a flash, grabbing her wrist to suppress the deadly energy she was about to unleash. To sell the act, he pulls the stunned queen into an embrace, telling the captain he has the wrong person. He cheekily explains he has a common face, then whispers a deal to the queen, help him get rid of the soldiers, and he'll return without a fight. The captain completely misreads the situation, seeing them as a couple enjoying a private moment. Amused by their supposed romance, the captain waves them off and decides not to disturb them. They watch in silence as the Dragon Slayer patrol finally rides away, leaving them alone once more. Her patience gone, the queen glares at him, demanding to know if he's finished with the charade. With a forceful shove, she sends him stumbling backward, breaking the unwanted embrace. She grudgingly admits his quick thinking saved the soldiers' lives, but her expression remains cold. Jabbing a finger at his chest, she reminds him that despite their child, she will never be his wife. Dismissing the conversation, she turns to continue their journey, leaving him to follow in defeat. Suddenly, a sharp pain erupts from his chest as the dragon seal flares with a strange energy. He reaches out instinctively as she walks away, the curse creating an undeniable, agonizing connection. The overwhelming pain from the curse causes him to collapse backward, stunning the queen. She looks down at his unconscious form, questioning if he actually fainted from the strain. Her magical aura flares as she scoffs at what she perceives as his human fragility. With no patience left, she effortlessly hoists his unconscious body into the air. Transforming into her dragon form, she snatches him mid-air to carry him back to the castle. He is unceremoniously dropped inside, landing hard on the cold stone floor. She soars into the sky, deciding to interpret his collapse as a plea for mercy. Time passes, and the scene returns to the majestic Silver Dragon Castle. Leon groans as he awakens once again in the lavish bedroom, the cycle of escape and capture repeating. A cheerful voice breaks his stupor as Muen happily announces that her father is awake. He groggily wonders how he returned, and Muen cheerfully explains her mother carried him back. The memory of being snatched by her dragon form flashes in his mind, a humiliating reminder of his capture. His attention is drawn to a crudely wrapped bandage on his hand, leaving him puzzled. Muen proudly takes credit for the handiwork, eagerly awaiting his praise. He reflects on the brutal nature of dragons, contrasting it with his daughter's gentle demeanor. Leon theorizes her human dragon heritage might be why she shows him such unconditional affection. Overcome with a wave of fatherly affection, he pats her head and compliments her. He then gives her a stern warning, pleading with her not to grow up to be like her mother. A cold voice from the doorway interrupts, as Rosweisse questions what's wrong with their daughter resembling her. He quickly backpedals, but the queen's icy glare shows she's not the least bit amused. Muen proudly reports to her mother that she followed her instructions for bandaging Leon's hand. Leon realizes the queen was the one who orchestrated his daughter's act of kindness. As Muen obediently agrees, Leon can't help but notice how strict a mother Rosweisse is. To get his daughter out of the room, he gently suggests they play a game of hide-and-seek. The little girl lights up with pure excitement at the prospect of playing with her father. He playfully assures her he's more fun than her mother and sends her on her way. As he begins to count, Muen scurries off in a panic, begging him to slow down. He continues counting, watching as his daughter zips out of the room in a flash. With Muen gone, he immediately turns his attention back to the queen, demanding to speak with her. He confronts her directly, accusing her of being far too strict with their child. She defends her parenting style, claiming strictness is the only way to forge strong dragon warriors. He counters that Muen is half human, but the queen dismisses cute as an insult to dragons. With a sly grin, Leon audaciously calls the fearsome dragon queen cute as well. His flippant remark instantly ignites her fury, her eyes narrowing with a dangerous glint. In a flash of anger, she grabs a fistful of his shirt, her knuckles white with rage. She pulls him close, venomously reminding him of his place as her slave and prisoner. Leon is momentarily speechless, caught off guard by her intense and volatile reaction. Her anger subsides as she coolly delegates all childcare duties to him, citing her royal responsibilities. Leaning in, she whispers that their daughter has grown quite fond of him, a fact she seems to find amusing. Left alone, Leon fumes at the irony of a legendary dragon slayer being relegated to the role of a royal babysitter. He turns his attention back to the game of hide-and-seek, searching for his daughter. Muen peeks from behind a pillar, realizing her hiding spot isn't as clever as she thought. Leon playfully points, announcing that he has found his daughter. But his cheerful discovery is met with a silent, unimpressed stare. He notices her pouty expression, wondering if he somehow made the little girl angry. With a sheepish grin, he tries to apologize for taking so long to find her. To his surprise, she suddenly turns and bolts, leaving him to give chase. He calls after her, completely baffled by her sudden decision to run. The hero stops in his tracks, realizing she has completely vanished from the garden path. He's left utterly perplexed, finding it impossible to predict his daughter's ever-changing moods. He finally understands why Rosweisse left him in charge of their unpredictable child. Before he can react, Muen gleefully tackles him from behind, declaring herself the winner. He's completely baffled, asking how she managed to circle back so fast. She innocently explains that she came to find him since he was so bad at seeking. He questions his own senses, wondering if he just imagined her incredible speed. His daughter excitedly pulls him along, eager to show him something as her mother watches from a distance. But waiting for them is another girl, a mirror image of Muen with a much more serious expression. The scene shifts to a tense family dinner, revealing that Leon now has 2 daughters to contend with. He observes his twin daughters, Muen, the cheerful one, and Noah, the stoic one who clearly takes after her mother. Trying to break the ice, he asks his more serious daughter, Noah, if she's enjoying her meal. Noah glares at her father with pure contempt, imagining him being struck down for his presence. The queen finds her daughter's animosity hilarious, barely stifling a triumphant laugh. Muen innocently asks about her mother's good mood, who claims it's due to their family's reunion. Rosweisse puts him on the spot, forcing Leon to feign happiness about their new family dynamic. Muen's sweet request for daily family dinners fills Leon with internal dread at the thought. But Noah firmly rejects the idea, her expression hardening with disapproval. She explains to her confused sister that she intends to enroll in the St. Heath Academy. The queen questions her daughter's haste, noting the academy is for much younger dragons. Noah declares her goal is to defeat more dragon slayers, causing Leon to choke in shock. The hero is horrified, realizing his own daughter has been raised to see him as the enemy. Leon tries to reason with his daughter, explaining the dangers she would face as a young dragon slayer hunter. Noah scoffs at his concern, refusing to be treated like a child despite her father's frantic internal protests. The queen smirks, openly encouraging her daughter's dangerous ambition to fight his former comrades. She then turns the pressure on Leon, daring him to give a reason why their daughter shouldn't attend the academy. He realizes arguing will only push Noah further away, deciding on a more subtle approach to change her mind. Defeated, Leon reluctantly withdraws his objections, unable to find the right words. A sudden clarity hits him as he glares at the queen, finally understanding her true intentions. He sees her scheme for what it is, a cruel psychological game using their daughter to torment him. While he silently vows revenge, Roswisa gleefully announces that Leon will personally train Noah for the academy's entrance exam. The little girl clenches her fists, obediently accepting her mother's command and her father's new role. As the tense family dinner concludes, a cheerful Muen proudly shows her sister her full belly. Leon stops the queen just as she's about to leave the dining room. He gestures to the table, pointing out that the plates still need to be cleaned. She dismisses his concern, stating that such menial tasks are for the servants. He smirks, suggesting that a real family dinner ends with the couple washing the dishes together. Leon challenges her to maintain the facade of a happy family for their daughter's sake. Muwen's hopeful face appears in the doorway, catching her mother's attention. Cornered by her daughter's innocent gaze, the queen begrudgingly accepts his proposal. Muen enthusiastically offers to join in and help with the cleaning, but Noah quickly intervenes, dragging her bewildered sister away from the scene. The scene shifts to the kitchen, where the dishes from their tense dinner await. The queen impatiently asks when he plans to start, clearly annoyed by the menial task. With a confident smirk, Leon reminds her of a warning he gave her 2 years prior. He repeats her fatal mistake, never being alone with the strongest dragon slayer. As the seal on his chest glows, she warily demands to know what he's planning. He explains that unlike before, he's no longer exhausted and won't be so easily controlled. Enraged, she unleashes her powerful tail, refusing to believe he can escape her. But in a stunning display of strength, he catches her tail mid-attack, stopping it cold. He clarifies his intentions, stating he never planned to run away in the first place. The sudden contact triggers the curse, causing the queen to cry out from an unexpected and overwhelming sensation. The mighty queen collapses to her knees, completely immobilized by his touch. He reveals her secret weakness, a pressure point on her tail that renders her powerless, a fact he learned from her own books. Leaning in, he taunts her about the dragon race's obsession with conquest and control. He then flips the script, audaciously asking if the great conqueror has ever been conquered herself. His words leave her breathless and flustered, her proud composure completely shattered. Overwhelmed, she weakly demands he release her tail, unable to muster her usual strength. He reminds her of all the humiliation she's inflicted, treating him as nothing more than her plaything. Her fury erupts as he proposes they reverse their roles for the evening, turning the tables on his captor. With a surge of defiance, she snatches her tail back, breaking free from his grasp. Unaware of the drama, 2 maids gossip outside, wondering if the queen's family time has concluded. The maids enter the kitchen to find it immaculately clean, wondering if the hero was responsible. One of the maids beams with joy, admiring the sparkling clean dishes. From a nearby doorway, Leon silently observes the maids, his expression unreadable. He silences the queen, warning her that the maids might discover her in this compromised position. The queen's eyes flash with fury and humiliation, her usual composure completely gone. With a triumphant smirk, he mockingly calls her his wife, ready to begin their task. Her gaze wavers, a storm of conflicting emotions brewing behind her glowing eyes. 3 days pass, the majestic silver dragon castle standing peacefully under a bright sky. His twin daughters watch over his unconscious form, wondering if their father will ever wake up. A sudden sharp punch to the face jolts him awake, causing him to cry out in pain. Noah stands over him, casually confirming he's still alive while he internally questions her harsh wake-up call. Muen gasps in surprise as her father finally sits up, looking dazed but awake. Muen excitedly informs her mother of his awakening, while Leon struggles to remember how he ended up unconscious. Rosweise turns with a knowing look, mockingly offering to help him remember what happened. A memory flashes in his mind of her delivering a powerful blow after their tense kitchen encounter. He sits up, reflecting on her cruelty, and realizing a normal man would never have survived her retaliation. Despite his anger, he can't help but notice her beauty, momentarily distracted by her appearance. His daughters observe him, with Noah scornfully remarking that he's simply captivated by their mother's beauty. Startled from his thoughts, he accidentally knocks a flower ornament from the nightstand, catching the queen's attention. He instinctively reaches down to pick up the delicate ornament he dropped. He gently places the flower ornament in her hair, remarking that it suits her perfectly. She questions his sudden thoughtfulness, suspiciously asking if he has experience with other women. He cheekily reveals his only experience comes from expertly grooming his master's donkey as a child. His daughter Muan innocently interrupts, asking her father to explain what a donkey is. Leon playfully describes donkeys as stubborn creatures that hum when annoyed, much like dragons. He finishes his comparison by pointedly stating that donkeys are just like her mother. Enraged by the insult, the queen delivers a swift and powerful headbutt, sending him flying. As his daughters watch with concern, he struggles to his feet, insisting he's unharmed. The queen ignores him, assigning him the new task of teaching their daughters how to write. While Muan cheers with excitement, Noah coldly states that she already knows how. The twin daughters excitedly run off to the study, with Muan asking her sister which color pen she wants. The queen turns to Leon, forbidding him from showing his face to her visiting sister. He smirks, mockingly asking if she's ashamed to introduce him to her family. She gets close, dictating his new identity, a male dragon who married into her clan and just awoke from a 2-year coma. The queen warns him that if they do meet, he must stick to the script she's created. His eyes narrow as he sarcastically agrees to her demands, his tone dripping with false obedience. As she walks away, he silently vows that he has no intention of obediently following her orders. A devious smirk forms on his face as he decides to turn the tables and embarrass her in front of her own sister. The scene shifts to the sun-drenched and lavishly decorated children's study room. He begins the writing lesson, patiently demonstrating the proper technique for his twin daughters. He gives them their names written on paper, asking them to practice their handwriting. Noah immediately criticizes his penmanship, claiming her mother's is far superior. Using the excuse of giving something to their mother, he quickly stands up to leave. He makes a hasty exit, leaving his daughters to wonder if their father is simply an idiot. Muan playfully points out that her sister seems happy, but Noah quickly denies it. A faint blush on Noah's cheeks betrays her true feelings, despite her stoic denial. The scene shifts to the castle gate, where an important visitor has just arrived. The visitor is revealed to be Isha Melkvi, the formidable Red Dragon Queen. Rosweise warmly embraces her sister, happy to see her after a long time. Aisha teases her sister about her healthy glow, leaving Rosweise flustered and at a loss for words. Aisha immediately puts her sister on the spot, demanding to know why she can't meet her newly awakened husband. Rosweise quickly lies, claiming he's unwell, while Aisha expresses disappointment at not seeing the man who captured her sister's heart. The Red Dragon Queen teases her, noting their whirlwind romance and child suggest a much deeper connection than a typical dragon alliance. Flustered and defensive, Rosweise vehemently denies having any feelings for him whatsoever. Aisha simply smirks, amused by her sister's familiar, tough-as-nails facade. Desperate to change the subject, Rosweise pulls her sister along, suggesting a walk through the garden to catch up. The two queens stroll arm in arm, observed from a distance. From a window, Leon spies on them with a telescope, confirming the visitor is indeed Rosweise's sister. A devious plan forms in his mind as he decides to test the limits of the dragon seal. As they walk, Isha reveals the dragon clan is facing instability, particularly from the increasingly active Red Flame Dragon King. Rosweise's expression hardens as she considers the possibility of the Red Flame Dragon King's return. Aisha speculates about the king's motives, noting his hot-headed nature and long absence. Suddenly, the dragon seal on Rosweise's chest flares to life, catching her completely by surprise. Her eyes widen as she realizes the seal is reacting to something, or someone. Noticing her sister's distress, Aisha asks what's wrong, but Rosweise quickly plays it off with a forced laugh. She internally fumes, realizing Leon is deliberately activating the seal from afar to torment her. As Isha discusses military strategy, Rosweise struggles to hide her growing blush and discomfort. The overwhelming sensation from the mark intensifies, leaving the powerful queen flustered and weak. Her sister's concerned voice cuts through her haze, pointing out her beet-red face. Unable to bear it any longer, Roswitha makes a hasty excuse, promising to return in 20 minutes. Her sister offers to help, but the flustered queen hastily rejects the offer and rushes away. Aisha watches her go with a knowing smirk, amused by what she perceives as youthful romance. Meanwhile, Leon relaxes with a smug grin, enjoying his little test of her endurance. His relaxation is cut short as an enraged Roswitha bursts through the door, much sooner than he expected. She grabs him by the collar, furiously accusing him of using the seal to humiliate her. He feigns innocence, audaciously asking if it's so wrong for him to want her. His bold question completely disarms her, leaving the powerful queen speechless and flustered. Her composure shatters, her face flushing red as she's overwhelmed by his unexpected words. Leon watches her retreat, believing his act has successfully disgusted her. But she lashes out in a flustered rage, calling him shameless for his supposed dirty thoughts. She questions her own reaction, stunned that his words could disarm her so easily. As she makes a flustered retreat with a weak threat, he playfully mocks her from behind. He contemplates the power of the seal, amused that a few words can render the queen so helpless. His triumphant mood shifts to confusion as he clutches his chest, questioning his own racing heart. Frantically grabbing his head, he tries to force the confusing new feelings from his mind. He remembers his daughters are waiting, as Muen grows bored and wonders why he hasn't returned. Later that night, a procession departs from the Silver Dragon Castle. Her sister, the Red Dragon Queen, announces her departure, waving as she prepares to leave. Roswitha waves goodbye with a warm smile, wishing her sister a safe journey. Before leaving, the Red Dragon Queen transforms, insisting she be allowed to meet the mysterious husband next time. Roswitha stands alone under the night sky, her aura flaring with rage as her sister's escort departs. Her expression hardens, her eyes filled with silent fury as she contemplates her next move. She vows to teach the Dragon Slayer a proper lesson, feeling his earlier torment wasn't nearly enough. Elsewhere, a sudden sneeze interrupts Leon's quiet evening. He muses that the Dragon Queen must be cursing his name while reading a storybook to his daughters. After finishing the story, he watches his twin daughters sleeping soundly in their bed. In a rare moment of tenderness, he gently tucks them in, making sure they're warm. Believing his duties are done for the night, he quietly tries to sneak out of the room. But his escape is cut short as the door is suddenly pushed open, revealing an unexpected visitor. The queen blocks his path with an icy glare, while he nervously confirms that her sister has finally left. With a grimace, she declares that their evening is far from over. She forcefully drags the protesting hero along, ignoring his pleas to be released. The scene shifts to her lavish bedroom, the setting for her impending revenge. Under her orders, he is forced to prepare a steaming basin of water. He presents the basin to the queen, completely baffled by her strange request. She imperiously demands he wash her feet as payback for his earlier torment. Leon stares back in utter disbelief, completely stunned by her demeaning command. The queen angrily insists this is his punishment and orders him to obey without question. He begrudgingly kneels, fuming at the irony of a dragon slayer being reduced to a servant. As he holds her foot, his thoughts darken, wondering how many of his comrades she has defeated. She notices his intense stare, wondering why he's so focused on her feet. Her mind jumps to a disgusted conclusion, assuming he has some strange and unsettling habit. With a mischievous grin, he suddenly yanks her foot down into the basin of water. Her feet plunge into the steaming water, causing an immediate and painful reaction. She cries out from the scalding heat, reflexively kicking him square in the face. The powerful blow sends him flying backward across the room in a pained heap. Looming over him, she angrily accuses him of deliberately trying to get his revenge. He smirks from the floor, cheekily reminding her that this whole situation was her idea. Flustered but furious, she warns him that he clearly hasn't learned his lesson. To prove her point, she pins him to the ground with her foot, reasserting her dominance. She mockingly asks if he's enjoying being pinned by a dragon, as he groans under the pressure. The queen increases the force, pushing him further into the floor with a powerful stomp. He struggles with a confusing mix of humiliation and an unexpected sensation, weakly telling her to stop. With a smug look, she challenges him, eager to see just how long his will can last. He fights to regain his composure, refusing to be broken by her demeaning games. In a burst of defiance, he suddenly grabs her ankle, stopping her assault cold. With a predatory grin, he declares he's never tried a delicacy like a dragon's trotter before. His audacious move and shocking words leave the powerful queen completely stunned and flustered. He lunges forward, repaying her humiliation with a shocking and aggressive act of his own. An enraged scream echoes from the castle as the queen furiously vows to kill him for his insolence. The next day, the twin daughters appear, Muan rubbing her eyes while Noah stands with a stern expression. Muan innocently asks her mother why she's walking with a slight limp. She then turns to her father, questioning the fresh bruises on his face. The little girl is left completely puzzled by their vague and dismissive answers. One excitedly concludes they must have been playing fun games without her and wants to join next time. The scene shifts to the castle garden where the two are forced to take a walk together. They walk in stony silence, the tension between them thick enough to cut with a knife. From a distance, two maids mistake their awkward stroll for a romantic date. One of the maids notes with suspicion how distant and unfamiliar the royal couple seems. The silent, icy glare exchange between them confirms the maid's observation. He reflects on the bizarre turn his life has taken, questioning how they reached this point. The scene flashes back, showing his initial shock and refusal when she suggested the walk. She had grabbed him, reminding him it was his duty to maintain their facade for outsiders. He finds her unusually proactive behavior suspicious, wondering what her true motive is. Unseen by them, their daughters watch from behind a tree, with Noah criticizing her father's lack of romantic effort. Muan decides to take matters into her own hands, determined to help her parents. Noah tries to stop her sister, but Muan dashes out from their hiding spot to intervene. The little girl cheerfully runs up to them, catching both Leon and the queen by surprise. She grabs one of her father's hands and one of her mother's, pulling them together. With surprising strength, she forces their hands together, insisting that this is how a couple should act. As Muan runs off to find her sister, Leon wonders where his daughter learned such romantic notions. Behind a tree, Noah pinches her sister's cheek for interfering, making Muan cry for forgiveness. Caught in the awkward moment, the two are flustered until she surprisingly tells him to just keep holding her hand. As their daughters watch, he finds her sudden docility unsettling, while she believes he's just not used to her being nice. He realizes her tough, queenly exterior is just a facade, suspecting she's a strict mother because she's unsure how to be affectionate. Seizing the opportunity, he points out that their daughters always refer to her with the formal title of mother. He explains that by calling him dad, but her mother, the girls are creating an emotional distance from her. The queen is genuinely perplexed, questioning the difference between the two titles. With a warm smile, he suggests she let them call her mom to build a closer bond. His surprisingly heartfelt advice leaves the powerful dragon queen completely stunned and blushing. Flustered by his heartfelt advice, she quickly pulls him along, agreeing to try his suggestion later. She then asks if he's homesick, offering a way to ease his longing even if she won't let him leave. The queen leads him to the grand, imposing doors of the castle's main warehouse. He asks what the place is called, but she admits it doesn't have a proper name. Dismissing the need for a name, she casually unlocks the massive door. A cloud of dust and light billows out as she pushes the heavy doors open. He's left speechless as she reveals a vast room filled with priceless treasures. Leon marvels at a bracelet worth a fortune, only for her to reveal it was a childhood gift from her grandmother. She explains the room holds not just spoils of war, but also cherished personal mementos. His curiosity piqued, he learns she and her sister were raised by their grandmother, having never met their parents. He reveals his own similar past as an orphan, adopted by his master and his wife. Leon cuts to the chase, questioning her true motive for bringing him to the treasury. She approaches a large chest, promising to show him something that will ease his worries. His eyes widen in shock as he recognizes the legendary black gold armor inside. She knowingly asks if he's always wanted his precious armor back. Overcome with disbelief, he asks if she's truly offering it to him. The queen confirms his desire with a devious and unsettling smirk, but as he reaches for it, a powerful magical energy erupts from the armor's chest plate. He recoils in horror, realizing his beloved armor has been corrupted by an enchanted dragon mark. With a cold, triumphant gaze, she announces that he has finally fallen into her trap. Surrounded by a glowing magical circle, Leon furiously demands to know what the queen has done. She gleefully explains she's enchanted his armor with a dragon pattern that activates upon contact. The curse's power surges through him, causing him to stagger back in pain. Clutching his chest, he realizes he's been careless and fallen for her despicable trick. With a triumphant grin, she reveals the enchantment has doubled the curse's effects. She grabs his chin, taunting him and questioning if he can endure the overwhelming sensation. He glares back, his fury evident as he struggles to speak her name through gritted teeth. With a forceful shove, she sends him crashing backward, pinning him against a surface. He finds himself completely immobilized, overwhelmed by a powerful and unfamiliar urge. Leaning over him, she confesses she's been planning this revenge, mocking how easily he let his guard down. He struggles to speak, his face flushed as the curse overwhelms his senses. With a triumphant blush, she gloats about her masterful performance, proud of her deception. He demands to know if her vulnerability and their shared moments were all part of the lie. She admits her past is real, but cruelly states it won't save him from his current fate. The queen turns his own words against him, reminding him of his previous taunts as her mark glows. She recalls his question about her love for conquest, savoring the moment of reversal. With a coy smile, she confirms her desire to conquer, her eyes fixed on her helpless captive. She leans in close, preparing to enact her final revenge on her so-called husband. The scene cuts away from the treasury, leaving the intense conclusion to the imagination. Sometime later, a completely drained Leon weeps with relief, believing his ordeal is finally over. But she leans over him with a triumphant smirk, clearly not finished with him yet. He warily questions her intentions, his relief quickly turning to suspicion. She observes that while his scars have faded, he now has the haggard look of a mature man. He angrily insists he won't fall for her tricks again, but she simply looks away with a smug expression. As she gets dressed, she mockingly compliments him for finally getting smarter. But his defiance falters as he sees her don her formidable armor once more. With a sly look, she taunts him, noting that his physical stamina isn't what it used to be. Her comment leaves him utterly confused, unable to grasp her meaning. The queen's words hit him with the force of a physical blow as the implication dawns on him. He's left in a state of shock, realizing she's mocking his weakened condition after their encounter. He lets out a cry of pure mortification, his pride completely shattered by her insult. The next day dawns on the majestic Silver Dragon Castle, bringing with it a new round of tension. A haggard Leon cautiously peeks from a doorway, dreading his inevitable encounter with the queen. He's met by the sight of Rosweiss and Muin, the queen looking far too pleased with herself. With a smug smirk, she mockingly points out how poorly he must have slept. He furiously blames her for his exhaustion, but she feigns complete ignorance of the matter. Their daughter Muin watches the familiar bickering begin all over again, clutching a large book. The queen cuts their argument short, ordering him to begin tutoring Noah for the academy exam today. She leans in, adding a final, stinging remark about where his true value currently lies. He internally seethes, desperately trying to convince himself that he was simply not at his best the night before. He boldly declares he'll train Noah, but demands something of equal value in return. The queen agrees with a smug look, warning him not to make an excessive request. With a determined gaze, he silently acknowledges that a promise has been made. She mockingly wishes him well, leaving him fuming as she walks away with a triumphant smile. Later, Noah questions him about his argument with her mother, which he dismisses as normal conversation. His attention is suddenly caught by the way his daughter referred to the queen. Noah reveals she now calls Rosweiss Mom, a significant change from her usual formal title. He eagerly asks if she prefers the new, more affectionate name, which she shyly confirms. A warm, genuine smile spreads across his face, pleased that his advice was taken to heart. His daughter looks back at him, a faint blush on her cheeks betraying her stoic demeanor. An eager Noah rushes ahead with a large book, ready to begin her lesson, forcing her father to hurry after her. The scene shifts to the lavish children's study room, where two small dragon companions watch from the sidelines. Leon sits at the desk, deep in thought as he pores over books and lesson plans for his daughter. His concentration is broken by the queen's sudden appearance, who questions why he is still awake. He explains his detailed teaching strategy, noting that Noah's intelligence requires a more advanced approach. As Noah sleeps soundly, he confidently states his belief that she can pass the exam within a month. The queen smugly takes all the credit, claiming their daughter's brilliance is simply inherited from her. With a challenging smirk, he suggests that their daughter might have inherited her genius from someone else. He proudly boasts about his own past as a top-ranking genius who excelled in all his exams. Turning the tables, he puts her on the spot, asking about her own academic achievements, which leaves her completely flustered. She's forced to reconsider her opinion of him, realizing he's not just a fighter, but also a brilliant student. She tries to regain the upper hand, questioning how such a powerful genius ended up as her prisoner. He comically wallows in regret over his single mistake, while she taunts him about his current predicament. Her attention shifts to a plate of bright yellow peppers on the desk, questioning their presence. She suspiciously asks what he intends to do with the strange snack. He calmly explains that he brought them from the kitchen as a way to stay refreshed. Before he can take a bite, she tries to stop him, warning that the dragon's yellow pepper is far too potent for a human. Ignoring her warning, he pops the pepper into his mouth, his expression instantly contorting in shock. The intense heat overwhelms him, causing him to metaphorically breathe fire from the sheer spiciness. His bravado shatters as he frantically scrambles around the room, desperate for water to quell the burn. Instead of letting him suffer, the queen unexpectedly cups his face, her cool hands a stark contrast to his burning skin. He stares back in shock, a deep blush spreading across his face from her sudden, intimate gesture. She awkwardly explains her hands are naturally cool, offering them as a way to soothe his pain. The icy touch of her fingers brings him immediate relief, and he closes his eyes, savoring the comfort. Her gentle coolness eases the burn, a surprisingly tender act from his usual tormentor. After a moment, he pulls back, stammering that he's recovered, and she quickly releases him. An awkward silence hangs between them, both clearly embarrassed by the unexpected moment of closeness. She turns to leave, ordering him to get some rest before his tutoring duties the next day. As she walks away, he secretly wishes the surprisingly pleasant moment had lasted longer. He then shakes his head, angrily reminding himself of all the humiliation she's put him through, trying to fight his confusing feelings. Determined to regain his strength, he scours ancient texts for a way to recover his body. He dismisses several common remedies, searching for a more potent solution. His search leads him to a powerful health-promoting medicine known as Dragon Big Force. With a triumphant grin, he realizes he's finally found the answer to his problem. The next day, he presents Noah with the results of a test he just graded. His daughter cautiously guesses she scored a mere 50 points. He cheerfully reveals she scored a 62, a better result than she anticipated. But Noah clenches her fists, furious and dissatisfied with her performance. He's surprised by her reaction, realizing she holds herself to incredibly high standards. He reflects on her ambition, noting that unlike Muen, she has chosen a difficult path for herself. He gently pats her head, reassuring her that her score is impressive for a first attempt. His kind words leave her momentarily flustered, a faint blush appearing on her cheeks. But just as he's about to review her mistakes, he's overcome by a sudden coughing fit. He apologizes, blaming his itchy throat on the extra peppers he ate to stay awake the night before. Noah recalls her mother's words, explaining that her father is actually a top student despite his unreliable appearance. She remembers her mother also mentioned he ate the potent dragon's yellow pepper, a fact that now makes perfect sense. With a shy gesture, she pushes a small, ornate container across the desk toward him. He opens the gift, only for Noah to clarify that it's actually from her mother. He smiles warmly at the thoughtful gesture, realizing his daughter is just as bad at expressing kindness as her mother. With their bond strengthened, the father-daughter duo eagerly dive back into their studies. The scene shifts to the castle kitchen, where Leon is about to begin a secret project. Two maids arrive with a tray of herbs he requested, which he instructs them to place on the table. He internally smirks, having ordered extra ingredients to cleverly disguise his true objective. He reviews the recipe for a potent medicine, puzzled why it has such a high failure rate despite its simple steps. With focused determination, he begins the first step, grinding the necessary herbs with a mortar and pestle. He then carefully adds the ground mixture to a pot, beginning the boiling process. Hours later, he leans back in frustration, surrounded by failed attempts and realizing the task is far from easy. Dejected, he realizes he keeps failing at the final crucial step of purification and separation. The book's method requires a precise temperature that seems impossible to achieve without ruining the potion. Frustrated by the lack of proper equipment, he remembers his master's wisdom and resolves to find an unconventional solution. A sudden clap of thunder echoes as lightning flashes across the stormy sky. Leon observes the approaching storm, a flask of his failed potion resting in his hand. He moves to the window, his mind fixated on the lightning and thunder. A sudden memory sparks an idea, recalling his master's lesson on using electricity for purification. With renewed hope, he decides to use his own lightning magic, confident his limited power is enough for the task. He channels a precise current of electricity into the flask, carefully manipulating the potion's final stage. 30 minutes later, he holds up a perfectly formed pill, a testament to his successful experiment. With a smug grin, he stores his creation, mocking the supposed difficulty of dragon alchemy. His triumphant moment is interrupted by Muen, who curiously peeks over the table to see what he's doing. Caught off guard, he stares back at his daughter, momentarily at a loss for words. He cries out in alarm, startled by his daughter's unexpected arrival in the kitchen. He quickly hides the pill, nervously patting her head as she asks if he's holding candy. Thinking fast, he lies that it's medicine for her mother, causing Muen to worry. He reassures her it's just for nourishment, while internally admitting the pill is for himself. Muen gives him an encouraging thumbs up, completely buying his story about helping her mom. He agrees with a pleasant smile, secretly vowing to take care of the queen once he's recovered. Later that night, a fierce storm rages outside the grand castle. Lying in bed, Leon holds the pill, wondering if the potent dragon medicine will have negative effects on a human. He dismisses his concerns, deciding to take the risk for the sake of regaining his power. But just as he prepares to take it, a sudden noise from the doorway stops him cold. The queen appears in his room, catching him completely off guard. She reveals Muen told her about the special medicine he created. He panics, realizing his little white lie has been exposed by his own daughter. She feigns casual curiosity, impressed by his ability to craft a potion with limited resources. With a sly smile, she demands to see the finished product for herself. Knowing he has no choice, he reluctantly hands over the box containing his precious pill. She inspects the pill, genuinely impressed by the perfect quality of the dragon big force he created. Her unexpected praise leaves him stunned, as he was fully expecting her to mock him. However, she closes the box and forbids him from taking the medicine just yet. He stares back in shock, completely baffled by her sudden and unexplained command. She explains the dragon tonic is far too potent for a human, but he questions its true power. With a rare look of genuine concern, she warns him that his body simply cannot withstand the medicine's effects. He scoffs at her caution, boasting of his past victories against dragon kings and refusing to be underestimated. Ignoring her plea, he defiantly swallows the pill, determined to prove her wrong. As she watches in disbelief, he declares that courage is the hymn of mankind, bracing for the consequences. His bravado instantly shatters as his eyes widen in horror, the pill's overwhelming power coursing through him. He collapses onto the bed in agony, while the flustered queen admits she's rarely ever used healing magic. She places a hand on his chest, attempting to use her own power to help him break down the medicine's overwhelming effects. As he struggles against the intense reaction, she desperately orders him to stay still so she can help. Gritting his teeth, he unleashes a surge of raw energy, vowing to show her the true courage of humanity. A brilliant blue light erupts from Leon, flooding the entire room with raw power. He cries out as uncontrolled lightning surges from his body, the medicine's effects overwhelming him. The queen watches in horror, completely baffled by his reckless decision to use lightning magic on himself. He grits his teeth, enduring the agonizing process of absorbing the potent dragon medicine. The resulting shockwave sends her stumbling forward, falling directly onto him on the bed. After the energy subsides, she looks down at the exhausted man, concluding he is a complete madman. Worried, she decides to get the court physician, but he looks at her with a strange intensity. Just as she turns to leave, he suddenly grabs her hand, stopping her in her tracks. With surprising strength, he pulls her down towards him, his intentions unclear. She stares back in utter disbelief, stunned by his sudden recovery and bold action. With a dazed and lovesick expression, he clings to her leg, playfully asking his wife not to leave. The queen is completely flustered by his sudden familiarity, angrily denying the title. She tries to pull away, but he stubbornly refuses to let go, his grip surprisingly strong. She realizes his lightning magic must have altered the potion, causing this delirious state instead of just restoring his body. Concluding he's not in any real danger, she's left to deal with the embarrassing aftermath of his reckless decision. Resigning herself to the situation, she reluctantly asks the babbling hero what he wants. His eyes gleam with a strange intensity as he makes a bold and unexpected request for another child. His shocking words leave the powerful queen utterly speechless and beet red with embarrassment. As he grows more insistent, she tries to reason with him, but her words have no effect on his delirious state. Utterly defeated, she covers her face, deciding it's easier to simply play along to avoid any more chaos. To placate him, she agrees to his delirious demands about their future family, but he insists they must return to his hometown. He celebrates her reluctant compliance with a cheer, much to the queen's growing irritation. Leaning in close, he tries to show his affection, leaving her completely stunned by his forwardness. She forcefully pushes his face away, desperately wishing the potion's bizarre side effects would finally end. Losing her patience completely, she delivers a swift punch to his jaw to snap him out of it. He crumples onto the bed from the blow, and she immediately regrets her impulsive act of violence. Leaning over him with genuine concern, she checks to see if he's seriously injured. He suddenly clutches his chest, complaining of a strange feeling, and her expression shifts to alarm. The queen's own dragon mark flares unexpectedly, a surge of power catching her completely off guard. Simultaneously, the seal on his chest glows intensely, and she realizes with horror that the two marks are resonating. With a firm grip on her shoulder, he holds the stunned queen in place. He collapses on top of her, deliriously complaining about feeling unwell while she furiously questions his actions. His face flushes as he pants, overwhelmed by a strange heat and an itch in his chest. The queen realizes with horror that his lightning magic has amplified the potion's side effects to a dangerous degree. In his delirious state, he affectionately nuzzles her tail, leaving her to wonder how much more she can take. She forcefully pushes his face away, trying to regain control of the chaotic situation. His unexpected behavior leaves her completely stunned and at a loss for words. His expression softens as he calls her by name, complimenting her beauty with surprising sincerity. His sudden change from a babbling fool to a smooth-talking charmer leaves her utterly flustered. Despite her outrage, she secretly finds herself intrigued by this bold new side of him. In his delirious state, he pleads with his wife to help him with his overwhelming condition. Overwhelmed and blushing, she reluctantly agrees to his request, but only for one night. The scene fades as the consequences of his reckless potion-taking play out through the night. A new day dawns on the Silver Dragon Castle, the morning sun hinting at the end of the chaos. Leon groans as he slowly wakes up, feeling completely drained and disoriented. He's shocked to find the queen lying beside him, casually asking if he's finally awake. He bolts upright in a panic, demanding to know why she's in his bed. Clutching his sore muscles, he complains that his entire body is aching from the ordeal. He struggles to piece together the fragmented memories of the previous night, while she questions his supposed amnesia. With a triumphant smirk, she reminds him of their encounter, revealing the evidence of their intense night. He stares in shock at the marks on his body, wondering if he was the one who caused them. Horrifying memories of his delirious, affectionate behavior from the night before flood his mind. He cries out in utter mortification, realizing the full extent of his embarrassing actions. With a smug look, she reminds him that he was the one who pleaded with her to continue. A flashback shows him begging his wife for help one last time, completely lost to the potion's effects. A flustered Leon cuts her off, insisting he remembers everything and needs no further reminders. As he gets dressed, he reflects on the potion's surprising effectiveness, which was meant to restore his health. He turns to the queen, now fully dressed, and sheepishly asks if he went too far during their encounter. With a confident smirk, he boasts that she can no longer question his physical condition. The queen glares back at him, her intense gaze revealing a mix of annoyance and unspoken thoughts. She leans over him on the bed, catching the stunned hero completely off guard. With a sly smirk, she grabs his chin and mockingly compliments his performance from the night before. He panics with comical horror, realizing she's just demoted him to the service industry. Changing the subject, she brings up their previous bet about him tutoring their daughter. Looking slightly flustered, she admits that he won the wager and asks for his request. He leans back with a confident smile, revealing he's already decided on his prize. His expression turns serious as he asks her to send someone to check on his master and his wife. She agrees to his request, explaining that while sneaking isn't their style, a formal visit is possible. He awkwardly clears his throat, clearly flustered by her unexpected willingness to help. The scene shifts to the serene and beautiful gardens of the Silver Dragon Castle. In the garden, a weary Leon is questioned by his daughter Muen about his health. He nervously denies being sick, trying to brush off her innocent concern. Muen reveals her mother told her about the medicine, adding that men are too proud to admit illness. He seethes internally, furious that the queen would undermine his dignity in front of their child. As Muen worries about the medicine's effectiveness, she spots blood on his lip from his clenched jaw. The little girl panics, hugging her father tightly and begging him not to die. He reassures his distraught daughter, privately noting her dramatic flair is just like her mother's. To change the subject, he offers to make her a new toy, which immediately captures her attention. He meticulously crafts a strange, colorful cube, painting each side with precision. With a flourish, he presents the finished Rubik's Cube to his excited daughter, eager for her to try it. He internally laments that his genius alchemy skills are now being used for babysitting. His self-pity is cut short as he suddenly senses a powerful presence. He turns his gaze towards a distant part of the castle gardens, his expression serious. Muen notices his sudden change in demeanor, but he quickly brushes off her concern. He realizes he felt the intense gaze of a dragon, pinpointing it to where Noah is training. Deciding not to leave his other daughter out, he resolves to make a second toy for Noah. Later that night, he quietly peeks into Noah's room, finding her fast asleep. He leaves the newly crafted puzzle on her nightstand with an encouraging note. Noah wakes to find the gift, outwardly scoffing at what she considers a childish toy. Despite her words, she immediately begins twisting the cube, captivated by the challenge. Clutching the puzzle, Noah offers her father a rare, heartfelt smile of gratitude. Meanwhile, Muen notices her sister's strange new habit of hiding a secret box under her bed. Donning a detective's outfit, Muen decides to investigate her sister's mysterious treasure. Inside, she finds the cube, fragments of her father's armor and his handwriting, all cherished by Noah. The little detective proudly concludes that her stoic sister secretly adores their dad. Her investigation is cut short when Noah catches her, comically tying her up to protect the secret stash. The story explains that St. Heath Academy is a prestigious institution with very high standards for its students. The Academy's core belief is that only students from loving, harmonious families can be admitted. To maintain this facade for Noah's sake, the Queen arranges a family outing to the magnificent Sky City. The Queen soars through the sky in her dragon form while Leon and Muen land below, him sporting a new pair of wings. Leon opens his arms, ready to catch his daughter Muen as she jumps down from the Queen's massive dragon form. Safely in his arms, Muen eagerly asks her father why he didn't transform into a dragon like her mother. He laughs nervously, explaining that while he's an expert at slaying dragons, becoming one is out of the question. His other daughter, Noah, eyes him with suspicion, questioning if he's telling the truth about not being able to change. Caught in a lie, he panics and shakes his head frantically, while the Queen looks on with amusement. The Queen smoothly covers for him, telling their daughters his body is still recovering and he'll transform when he's better. Muen encourages her father to get well soon, and he promises to try, privately knowing it's impossible. With the family reunited, the Queen leads them towards the magnificent gates of the bustling city. Muen excitedly runs through the streets, amazed by all the dragons, while Noah follows at a more composed pace. Leon clenches his fists in silent frustration, seething over the Queen's lie about his supposed dragon form. The Queen notices him trembling, assuming he's overwhelmed by the sight of so many dragons. She leans in with a smug look, taunting him and asking if he's afraid. His fear instantly turns to a wide, predatory grin as he declares he's actually excited. He sees the bustling crowd not as citizens, but as a street full of high-value bounties. The Queen sighs in exasperation as he fantasizes about the fortune he could make, realizing her concern was misplaced. A bell chimes as the family enters a shop ready for their staged family portrait. A friendly shopkeeper with a dragon tail warmly welcomes the royal family. Inside, the daughters marvel at the numerous dragon portraits adorning the walls. He questions why a queen would need to visit a shop personally, and she explains her authority doesn't extend to this neutral city. With a triumphant smirk, he seizes the chance to mock her, pointing out her low status in this place. She retaliates with a sharp elbow, smugly pointing out she's still taller than him. The elderly shopkeeper humbly welcomes the Queen, honored to be chosen for the family portrait. When the shopkeeper asks about his tail, the Queen quickly orders a tailless suit, covering for his human nature. A flashback reveals his past refusal to wear a fake dragon tail, fiercely protecting his human dignity. As the Queen is led to the fitting room, Muen excitedly declares she wants a pretty dress too. A short while later, the twin daughters emerge, looking adorable in their new matching outfits. Leon steps out in a dashing white suit, leaving his daughter Muen completely starstruck by his handsome appearance. The shopkeeper compliments his princely look, prompting him to recall his school graduation ceremony. Feeling confident, he turns to his other daughter, eagerly seeking Noah's approval. With a reluctant pout, Noah begrudgingly admits that her father is indeed quite handsome. He beams with pride, patting his daughters' heads and complimenting their matching outfits. Their attention shifts as the queen makes a stunning entrance in an elegant black dress. Leon is left speechless, a blush creeping across his face as he's captivated by her beauty. Flustered, he quickly looks away, admitting that the dress suits her well. She seizes the chance to tease him about needing a tail, but he fiercely refuses to wear a fake one. Their daughters excitedly call them over, ready to pose for the family portrait. The photographer encourages the reluctant couple to stand closer together for the picture. He stubbornly refuses to move, creating an awkward tension between him and the queen. Despite their bickering, they manage to pose for a picture-perfect family photo. The resulting portraits successfully create the illusion of a happy, harmonious family. The final portraits are revealed, one showing her playfully teasing him, and another capturing a surprisingly convincing couple. A flashback reveals his school days, where he was swarmed by adoring female classmates offering gifts and asking him out. He awkwardly rejects their advances, using the bizarre excuse of needing to shoe his master's donkey. He leaves a trail of broken hearts while his bewildered master wonders if he's lost his mind. Back in the present, they learn the photos will take 6 hours, giving them time to explore the city. The daughters excitedly run ahead, pulling their parents along to explore the city streets. He admits the experience is new, while she insists it's just to maintain their family image for Noah's exam. The daughters' attention is immediately captured by a toy shop window filled with colorful bears. Their casual stroll is interrupted as both he and the queen stare ahead in shared disbelief. The cause of their shock is revealed. The elderly shopkeeper has taken Muen hostage. The stall owner comments on Noah's near miss, noting she almost succeeded. Muen excitedly points out the carnival shooting game to her father. Noah sulks in frustration over her failure, while Leon internally scoffs at the rigged game. The queen explains the toy gun requires precise magical control, a difficult skill for Noah. The shopkeeper tempts the parents to play for a prize, secretly planning to profit from their efforts. Leon turns to his daughters, asking if they want the teddy bear prizes on display. Despite their denials, he correctly guesses that they both secretly want to win the toys. He confidently accepts the challenge, volunteering the unimpressed queen to cover the cost. Taking the toy gun, he's reminded of his sharpshooting days at the Dragon Slayer Academy. With expert aim, he fires a powerful shot, obliterating the targets in a single blast. The shopkeeper smirks, confident that his rigged gun will make it impossible for anyone to win. His confidence shatters as Leon's shot effortlessly destroys every single target on the board. Leon plays it cool, pretending his perfect aim was just a stroke of beginner's luck. His daughters are in awe of his skill, while even the queen is forced to admit she's impressed. The defeated shopkeeper reluctantly hands over the prizes, urging the family to leave before he loses more money. Leon presents the teddy bears to his delighted daughters, earning their heartfelt thanks. The queen watches the tender moment, privately admitting that he possesses a certain charm when he's serious. He turns his gaze to the queen, who is caught off guard by his sudden attention. Nearby, another child spots the scene and eagerly asks her own mother for a similar prize. The queen is left holding a large teddy bear herself, looking thoroughly unamused by the turn of events. He gloats about his victory, pleased to have gotten some payback on the greedy shopkeeper. He brushes off her disapproval, insisting that it's good for their daughters to enjoy themselves. He presses her about the gift, determined that she won't leave their family outing empty-handed. Clutching the bear with a blush, she privately admits that she finds the toy unexpectedly charming. As she walks away, she issues a surprising command for him to come to her room after dinner. The queen's unexpected command leaves him completely baffled as the day in the city ends. That evening, the imposing castle sets the stage for his impending meeting with the queen. He nervously makes his way through the castle, certain that her late-night invitation spells trouble. He agonizes over his decision, realizing that defying her will only lead to a week of misery. Steeling his resolve, he marches towards her chambers, determined to face the confrontation head-on. He arrives at her chambers, surprised to find the door is already unlocked. Cautiously entering, he scans the empty room, wondering where she could be. The sound of running water leads him to realize she's currently in the shower. He stares at the frosted glass door, her silhouette barely visible through the ornate pattern. Clenching his fist, he resolves to face whatever she has in store for him tonight. He tries to calm his racing thoughts, shaking his head to clear his mind for the confrontation. The bathroom door suddenly slides open, catching him completely off guard. She emerges from the steam in a nightgown, announcing that it's time to begin. He resigns himself to his fate, dreading another night of being completely drained. She coolly asks for his preference of location, suggesting the living room or the balcony. He nervously rejects the balcony, worried about the embarrassment of being seen by others. She dismisses his concern, deciding the living room will suffice as she turns away with a scroll. With a look of utter resignation, he braces himself for whatever she has planned. He dramatically throws himself onto the couch, only for her to question his bizarre theatrics. A flustered Leon looks up, confused by her hesitation, and asking if she has changed her mind. She coolly informs him that tonight is not suitable for their usual encounters, postponing it for another day. Instead of what he expected, she unrolls a scroll on the table, leaving him coughing in confusion. She reveals the scroll contains past exam questions from Noah's potential academy, focusing on family dynamics. The Queen explains they must prepare their answers to avoid failing Noah's admission assessment. He scoffs as he reads the list, realizing it's just a series of questions to test a couple's compatibility. He starts the quiz by asking her favorite color, and she returns the question, discovering their preferences are black and silver. They both realize their favorite colors perfectly match their own hair, a surprisingly fitting detail. Flustered by the uncanny similarity, they quickly dismiss the matching answers as a mere coincidence. The Queen suggests they formally test their knowledge of each other, and he readily agrees to the challenge. After a period of intense focus, the grading is complete, and the results are finally ready. He smugly reveals he scored higher, proving he knows her better than she knows him. She's stunned to see he correctly guessed her private habits, realizing he's far more observant than she thought. However, she notices a question she got wrong was about whether he had ever been disappointed in her. She rationalizes his mistake, admitting her stoic nature makes it impossible for him to know her true feelings. Looking at him with new eyes, she wonders if, just maybe, she could start opening up to this man. He notices her intense glare, assuming she's angry about losing their little quiz. He tries to ease the tension, casually remarking that their short time together made it hard for her to win. His tone shifts as he sincerely asks her to try and understand him better for their daughter's sake. His genuine plea catches her completely off guard, leaving the flustered Queen with a racing heart. She quickly masks her embarrassment with anger, shoving him and demanding he correct her test answers. Their bickering resumes as they debate his past disappointments, ending in a playful challenge. Later, he reviews their final scores while the exhausted Queen sleeps soundly in his lap. With their preparations complete, he stands to leave, intending to let her rest. But before he can take a step, she suddenly reaches out and grabs his clothes, stopping him. He turns back in confusion as she instructs him to use her bath and then return to her room. He stares in disbelief, questioning her bizarre command to use her personal bath. She impatiently shoves him towards the bathroom, ignoring his protests and telling him to hurry up. Alone in her bathroom, he wonders about her true motives, suspecting she's planning something sinister. He tries to calm himself, reasoning that her stress over Noah's exam is likely the cause of her odd behavior. Deciding to stop overthinking, he sinks into the luxurious bath and resolves to enjoy the moment. The warm water works its magic, and he relaxes completely, momentarily forgetting his suspicions. His relaxation is shattered when the Queen suddenly enters the bathroom, wrapped only in a towel. With a sly expression, she explains that she's been under a lot of pressure lately and needs to unwind. He immediately assumes the worst, believing his earlier fears about her intentions are about to come true. He panics, questioning why her method of relieving stress has to involve putting pressure on him. She winks, suggesting that transferring her stress onto him is the perfect solution. She reminds him of his own bold behavior from a few nights ago, turning the tables on him. Unable to argue with her logic, he looks away, completely cornered by her point. With a playful grin, she tells him to surrender as their night of de-stressing begins. The scene shifts to the day of the admission test at the Grand St. Heath Academy. Leon looks around in awe as the family arrives at the prestigious institution. The couple stands awkwardly together, trying to maintain their facade as a harmonious pair. He leans in to tease her, smugly asking if the effects of their stress relief have already worn off. He laughs off her whispered threats, confidently leading the way into the academy. Banners bearing the academy's silver dragon crest hang proudly, setting a formal tone for the day. An academy official reviews Noah's application, confirming her as a member of the Silver Dragon clan. The staff member is taken aback, noting on the form that Noah is only 1 year and 3 months old. Leon questions her surprised expression, but she quickly dismisses it as nothing. She explains that while Noah meets the minimum age, most students are much older, implying she is too young. The Queen steps in, confidently stating that Noah is exceptionally intelligent and they are respecting her choice. The official directs Noah to her written test, while her parents are sent to the 4th floor for their own assessment. The scene shifts to a grand meeting room on the 4th floor, where the parental interview will take place. Leon and the Queen sit opposite a panel of 3 stern-looking elderly dragons who will be their interviewers. The Queen leans in close, whispering to Leon and asking for his expert opinion on their assessors. He whispers back with a cold assessment, judging the lead interviewer as an easy target for his former, more powerful self. He whispers to the Queen, threatening to draw his sword if the Academy rejects their daughter. The lead interviewer introduces himself as Walter Wilson, the Academy's vice principal in charge of their assessment. The couple puts on a relaxed facade, though Leon privately worries about the vice principal's sharp demeanor. The vice principal starts with a tricky question, asking them to recall their wedding anniversary. Leon and the Queen exchange a tense glance, realizing their fabricated story is about to be tested. A flashback reveals they prepared for this, with him choosing a significant date since they never actually married. He confidently recalls the exact year, cementing the date in their shared story. They answer in unison, claiming their anniversary is the day they first bonded in the dungeon. Leon cheerfully explains their rapid family progress was due to love at first sight, satisfying the vice principal. The interviewer then probes deeper, asking them to reveal each other's flaws and bad habits. Leon and the Queen mentally debate their answers, deciding on a mix of truth and lies for credibility. He begins by artfully complaining that his wife's competence sometimes makes him feel like he doesn't exist. He then showers her with praise, gushing about her incredible ability to manage the family and household. Taking her hands, he expresses his wish for her to rely on him more, much to her private annoyance. The impressed interviewer then turns the question to the Queen, asking about her husband's most attractive qualities. She surprisingly lists a long series of his positive traits, from his looks to his responsible nature. She then adds that his health is poor, but he's a skilled alchemist who makes medicine for her, leaving him unsure if it's a compliment. Mirroring his earlier gesture, she takes his hands and urges him not to overwork himself. They clasp hands with dramatic flair, putting on a convincing show of mutual concern for the panel. The interviewers are completely sold, smiling warmly as they praise the loving couple. Their carefully constructed performance continues, with both sides playing their roles perfectly in the interview. The vice principal throws a curveball, asking them to pose a final truthful question to each other. The Queen confidently declines, claiming she already knows everything there is to know about her husband. She then puts Leon on the spot, silently urging him to end the interview without any more theatrics. He ignores her warning, instead asking a surprisingly personal question about the teddy bear he won for her. His unexpected question completely flusters the Queen, who struggles to understand his motive. After a moment of hesitation, she shyly admits that she does indeed like the gift very much. Satisfied with her honest answer, Leon cheerfully declares that he has no further questions for the panel. With the interview concluded, the vice principal informs them the results will be delivered in a few days. True to his word, a dragon messenger arrives at the castle a few days later, bearing the Academy's decision. The family gathers around the table, anxiously preparing to open the scroll from the Academy. Unfurling the letter, they see it's an official acceptance for Noah, congratulating her on passing the assessment. The entire family stares down at the letter in shared shock and relief, realizing their efforts paid off. The daughters erupt in celebration, with Muan proudly declaring how amazing her sister and parents are. The Queen thanks him for his help, but he smugly insists all the credit belongs to their talented daughter. She playfully announces a celebratory feast, ordering him to help so he can prove his worth to the family. The scene shifts to the day of the grand entrance ceremony at the prestigious St. Heath Academy. At the podium, the vice principal formally welcomes all the new students who successfully passed the assessment. The hall is filled with proud dragon families, all listening intently to the opening speech. The vice principal then calls Noah and her family to the stage, presenting them as a model of academic excellence and family harmony. In the audience, Muan watches with excitement as her family is called to the stage, accompanied by the maid Anna. Leon, the Queen, and Noah walk hand in hand toward the podium, presenting a united front for the Academy. A flashback reveals Leon's shock at learning they all scored first, resulting in this unexpected public speech. Standing at the podium, Leon forces a confident smile, resigning himself to the impromptu address. The vice principal invites Noah to speak, highlighting her exceptional achievement as the youngest top scorer. Noah begins her speech by praising her mother, expressing her admiration and gratitude for her support. She then thanks her sister Muen, whose face beams with pride and emotion from the audience. Leon watches with bated breath, anxiously wondering if he will be mentioned in her speech at all. After a dramatic pause, Noah finally turns her gratitude to her father, crediting him for her academic success. Her sincere words of appreciation leave Leon visibly moved, his eyes welling up with emotion. Noah concludes her heartfelt speech, formally thanking the audience from the podium. The vice principal praises Leon's parenting and suggests he show his fatherly love with a kiss. Leon panics at the suggestion, comically fearing his daughter's reaction to such a public display. He internally frets, recalling how his stoic daughter wouldn't even let him touch her a month ago. Trying to salvage the situation, he whispers an offer to just hug her instead. To his surprise, a flustered Noah urges him to get it over with and end the awkward ceremony. He is visibly stunned and touched by her unexpected willingness to go along with it. Overcoming his hesitation, Leon leans in and gives his daughter a tender kiss on the forehead. In the audience, Muen erupts with jealousy, demanding a kiss too while the maid tries to restrain her. The ordeal concludes with a blushing Noah, a relieved Leon, and an observant Queen looking on. The vice principal praises their family's harmony, holding them up as a shining example for the entire academy. He then puts Leon on the spot, suggesting he complete the picture of a loving couple by kissing his wife. Leon seethes with rage, internally regretting not being more intimidating during their interview. However, he glances at Noah, reminding himself that he must endure this public spectacle for her sake. Putting on a show, he pulls the flustered Queen close, boldly declaring their family's perfect harmony. He whispers that she must play along for their daughters, who are watching intently from the crowd. As he leans in, her heart races, shocked by his calm confidence while she's a nervous wreck. Resigning herself to the public display, she closes her eyes and braces for the inevitable kiss. To her surprise, he gently kisses her on the cheek, a tender and unexpected gesture. She opens her eyes in stunned confusion, while he pulls back with a triumphant smirk. The Queen touches her cheek, flustered and blushing from his unexpectedly gentle gesture. He bows to the cheering crowd, who demand more, but he playfully declares the show is over. Leaning in, he whispers a teasing comment about how the kiss was a great way to relieve stress, shocking her. She seethes with rage, wishing she could retaliate for his audacity if they weren't in public. The vice principal concludes their part of the ceremony, thanking the model family for their performance. Outside the academy, the family prepares to leave Noah, promising to pick her up the following weekend. Muen clings to her sister, sad to be separated, while Noah offers a comforting farewell. He begins to lecture Noah with fatherly advice, only for her to remind him she's not a child anymore. He cheekily claims he's just relaying her mother's drunken, heartfelt concerns, much to the Queen's annoyance. His tone shifts to fierce protectiveness, telling Noah to fight back against any bullies and that he'll always have her back. He cheekily asks Noah if she got into fights at school, admitting he used to get disciplined for it by her grandfather. He proudly reassures her that unlike his master, he won't punish her for standing up for herself. Noah clenches her fists with fierce determination, promising to remember her father's advice. The scene shifts to the quiet, lamp-lit study room of the Queen in the Silver Dragon Castle. The Queen studies a book on forbidden magic, learning about a dangerous blood curse that cost the caster's life. A sly smile appears on her face as she considers how this deadly curse could be modified for her own purposes. Her scheming is interrupted as she looks up from her book, sensing someone has entered her study. A trusted maid named Shirley enters the room, ready to deliver an important report to her queen. Shirley regretfully informs the Queen that her investigation has hit a dead end. Leon's master and his wife have vanished. The Queen is stunned by the news, as Shirley explains that all traces of their existence have been expertly erased. The Queen realizes Leon's master is far more than the simple farmer he was described as. She orders her maid to continue the investigation cautiously, prioritizing her own safety. Meanwhile, Leon energetically demonstrates a powerful sword technique for his daughter Muen. He encourages his eager daughter to copy his movements, teaching her the basics of combat. Muen unleashes a flurry of clumsy but fierce attacks, leaving her father momentarily speechless. Their training session is interrupted by the arrival of the queen, who watches them from a distance. Muen excitedly spots her mother and runs to greet her, happy to see her return. The queen greets Leon with a cool expression, acknowledging his return from his duties. She embraces her daughter, who proudly recounts how her father taught her to wield a sword. Pleased with their progress, the queen sends her daughter to get ready for their family dinner. Muen cheers with delight, her eyes sparkling with excitement at the thought of having steak for dinner. As the maid leads their happy daughter away, Leon and the queen are left alone in the training grounds. The queen's expression turns serious as she begins to speak, her eyes welling with unshed tears. Her emotional moment is shattered as Leon suddenly points a stick at her, catching her completely by surprise. With a cold smirk, she questions if he's finally attacking her, reminding him that such an act of treason is punishable by death. He scoffs at her accusation, pointing out that he's merely holding a harmless tree branch. She challenges him, retorting that in the hands of the legendary dragon slayer, even a branch is a lethal weapon. Leon lets out a weary sigh, seemingly tired of their constant verbal sparring. He playfully asks why she's being sarcastic instead of just admitting she's impressed, causing her to look away in denial. He stretches casually, remarking that his attempt to scare her failed, while she confidently states a twig is no threat from him. She changes the subject, revealing Noah wrote a letter to say she's doing fine and they shouldn't worry. He seems unimpressed by the short message, but she explains it's a rare and meaningful gesture from their stoic daughter. He reflects on this, noting that Noah's reserved personality is just like her mother's. The queen explains that Noah, like a true dragon, admires strength and is actually pleasant once you get to know her. She reveals that Noah now sees him as a rival and is determined to surpass his academic achievements. He's touched by this, realizing he had completely misjudged his daughter's opinion of him. The queen recalls how Noah secretly visited him during his coma, comparing her tough exterior to his. She reveals that as babies, only his presence could calm the twins, suggesting a deep, unspoken bond. A tender flashback shows him sleeping soundly with his infant daughters nestled safely beside him. He admits that as an orphan, he's unfamiliar with family affection, making their connection a strange new experience. A flashback reveals his lonely childhood, huddled by himself as a young, forgotten orphan. He recalls being adopted at age 5 by his master and his wife, who gave him a home. Despite their kindness, he felt a deep sense of loss watching other children with their biological parents. He secretly wished that his adoptive parents were his real family, yearning for a true blood connection. His master's wife once comforted him, promising that one day he would have a family of his own to cherish. Returning to the present, he looks at the queen and his daughters, realizing her words have come true. He resolves that this new, complicated family is now the one he will protect with his life. The queen interrupts his thoughts, snapping him back to reality and telling him it's time to leave. He awkwardly agrees, trying to play off his moment of deep reflection with a nervous laugh. She casually kicks her shoes towards him, a silent command for him to help her put them on. She looks at him with a smug expression, demanding he help her with her shoes as a sign of gratitude. He stares back in utter confusion, completely baffled by her audacious request. Leon flatly refuses, gesturing in disbelief at the demeaning task she's proposed. He angrily reminds her of his dignity, arguing that he's already endured enough humiliation at her hands. She retaliates with a swift kick to his face, reminding him he still owes her for the public kiss. The queen impatiently orders him to stop complaining and finish the task so they can finally go home. Defeated, he begrudgingly kneels and begins to slide the elegant shoe onto her foot. She teases him for his quick obedience, but he fires back with a witty insult comparing her to a donkey. Her smugness instantly vanishes, replaced by pure rage at his sharp-tongued remark. Enraged, she unleashes a powerful kick, forcing him to quickly dodge to avoid the blow. He cheekily flees, boasting that his speed makes him untouchable, while the queen seethes and promises retribution later. A few days later, the family waits together as Muen excitedly beckons someone to join them. A colossal dragon descends from the sky, its shadow falling over the waiting family. Muen marvels at the dragon Leviathan's immense size, noting it dwarfs even her mother's form. The queen explains to a stunned Leon that this giant is a docile dragon Leviathan, used primarily for transport. She elaborates on the Leviathan's famously calm nature, making it the ideal transport for the Academy's young students. A beam of light gently lowers Noah, dressed in her academy uniform, from the massive dragon. Now on the ground, Noah announces her return to her waiting mother. Muen joyfully embraces her sister, and the queen welcomes Noah home as Leon looks on. Noah turns to her father, hesitating to speak, and he realizes she's still unaccustomed to calling him Dad. He warmly welcomes Noah home, leading the family back to the castle for a celebratory meal. Inside, Noah presents her report card, revealing perfect scores and first-place rankings in all her academic subjects. The queen smiles with pride at her daughter's achievements, while Muen stares in wide-eyed astonishment. Despite her success, Noah apologizes for not getting first place in her physical fitness assessment. The queen and Muen quickly reassure her, praising her incredible performance and declaring her the best. Leon decides to step in, feeling it's his fatherly duty to properly handle his emotionally reserved daughter. He explains that her lower fitness score is expected, as her classmates are much older and physically stronger dragons. He then highlights her true strength, pointing out her 90% win rate in combat proves her superior strategy. Noah remains unconvinced, muttering that she heard her father was always the top student in everything. He offers a knowing smile, admitting that he wasn't always the best, but rose to the top through sheer determination. He encourages his daughter, telling her not to be discouraged by one setback and that he believes in her. Muen innocently asks who would win in a fight between her powerful parents, creating a tense silence. Without hesitation, both Leon and the queen eagerly point to themselves, each claiming they would be the victor. They stare at each other in disbelief, their competitive spirits instantly clashing over the shared answer. Leon proudly boasts about his past combat prowess, claiming no one could ever match him in a fight. The queen retorts with a smug look, claiming that while he has more honors, she only wins the fights that truly matter. Their bickering intensifies, with him reminding her of his victory in the dungeon and her firing back about the consequences. Fed up, he challenges her to a duel outside to finally settle the score, and she readily follows. The daughters decide to follow their parents, eager to witness the long-awaited showdown. On the training grounds, Leon and the queen stretch and prepare for their fight, unaware their daughters are secretly watching. The daughters watch with popcorn, justifying the fight as a valuable lesson in combat skills. The queen taunts him, questioning if his body has even recovered enough for a real fight. He dismisses her concern, eager to seize the rare opportunity to face the Silver Dragon Queen. She raises the stakes by proposing a wager, and he curiously asks about the terms. She lays out the terms. His victory means a month of freedom, but her win means he must grant her one request. He weighs the risk of her unknown demands against the incredible reward of a month-long break. The thought of a month-long reprieve from her is so tempting, it feels like an impossible dream. With his mind made up, he points confidently at the queen and accepts her high-stakes bet. They lock eyes with matching competitive smirks, ready to finally begin their long-awaited duel. The two rivals face off on the dusty training grounds, the air crackling with anticipation for their clash. Moon eagerly watches the impending fight, a bucket of popcorn ready for the show. Her excitement causes her to knock over her drink, creating a sudden distraction. The sound momentarily breaks the fighters' focus, their intense glares fixed on each other. As the parents dash into action, Muen mourns her spilled juice but quickly refocuses on the duel. Leon makes the first move, leaping forward to deliver a devastating magic-infused punch. The queen effortlessly catches his fist, their powers clashing in a brilliant burst of energy. She counters with a powerful tail whip, sending him reeling from the force of the blow. He flips backward, narrowly avoiding a second, even more ferocious strike from her tail. Using his hands to break his fall, he channels his energy to land with perfect balance. Springing back, he launches a powerful kick that she expertly blocks, the impact echoing across the field. The queen braces herself, narrowly dodging a flurry of sharp energy attacks. She realizes she's at a disadvantage in close combat and decides to change her strategy. Leon taunts her for avoiding a direct fight as she gathers her own magical energy. Unfazed, she unleashes a volley of powerful purple fireballs, determined to win at any cost. He's forced on the defensive, nimbly dodging the explosive magical onslaught. Muen worries her father is losing, but Noah provides a detailed tactical breakdown of the fight. Noah astutely observes that their mother's reliance on ranged attacks proves she fears Leon in close quarters. Muen is impressed by her sister's insight, which Noah credits to her lessons at the academy. The queen unleashes another wave of energy, daring him to try and get close to her. He boldly accepts the challenge, declaring that his speed is matched only by his durability. The queen unleashes a torrent of magical energy, determined to overwhelm his defenses. Leon finds himself trapped as pillars of her purple magic erupt all around him. The ground explodes in a massive blast, completely engulfing him in the attack. But he bursts from the smoke, crackling with lightning and mocking her slow speed. She watches in disbelief, realizing he's using thunder magic to amplify his physical abilities. Fueled by the thought of his vacation, he pushes his enhanced body to its absolute limit. He closes the gap instantly, hammering her with a barrage of lightning-infused strikes. She struggles to defend, shocked he can sustain such power while still recovering. A confident smirk spreads across his face as he spots a critical opening in her guard. He pivots, sweeping her off her feet with a perfectly timed lightning-fast kick. The queen grunts in frustration, completely unbalanced by his surprise attack. Leon raises a lightning-charged fist, confidently declaring his victory in the duel. But as she stumbles backward, he lunges forward to catch her, preventing her fall. He seizes her wrist, pulling her off balance and into his grasp. Their fight transforms into a dramatic embrace as he holds her close. The air crackles with tension as they stare into each other's flustered faces. His victory is cut short as she places her hand on his chest, unleashing her own magic. He recoils in panic as a purple flame erupts on his shirt, expecting to be burned. A moment later, he looks down in utter confusion, feeling no heat from the fire. She coolly reminds him the battle isn't over, scolding him for losing focus so easily. Their duel is interrupted by their daughters, who eagerly run over to ask who the winner is. Leon begrudgingly admits his defeat, claiming he was careless in the end. She praises his impressive physical skill, but he stubbornly insists he could have won if he'd gone all out. With a victorious smirk, she reminds him not to forget the terms of their bet. The memory of their wager hits him like a physical blow, the reality of his loss sinking in. He collapses from overexertion, and the queen coolly tells her daughters he'll be fine after some rest. That night, Leon gives a dramatic farewell speech to his daughters in their room. The two sisters listen to their father's theatrics, with Noah looking particularly unimpressed. He tearfully laments being taken away from them, playing up the tragedy of the situation. Noah cuts through his drama, pointing out he's just going to their mother's room for the night, not his doom. He frantically explains to his daughter that his fate is far worse than a simple execution. Muen's eyes sparkle with a cheerful but morbid misunderstanding of her father's situation. She then recalls a book about female mantises, much to her father's growing horror. The queen interrupts, telling him to stop filling their daughters' heads with his dramatic fears. She leans over her daughters, slyly announcing she and their father have interesting topics to cover tonight. The curious daughters ponder the deep cosmic mysteries their parents might be discussing. Cutting his theatrics short, the queen grabs a protesting Leon and drags him from the room. After he's gone, the sisters wonder about their parents' plans, with Noah wisely deciding to ignore the adults. The scene changes to the queen's opulent bedroom, where wine has been prepared for the evening. She offers him a drink to begin their night, but he stubbornly refuses, crossing his arms in defiance. The queen stares at him coldly, silently waiting for him to accept the drink. She reminds him of their bet, questioning his refusal to even share a glass of wine. He stands firm, determined to keep his wits about him and not fall for her games. She suddenly changes her tune, admitting she had actually hoped he would win their duel. Her confession leaves him utterly baffled, unable to comprehend her motives. She explains that his victory would have earned him a month of freedom, making their dynamic more fun. Still suspicious, he crosses his arms and suggests she just admit defeat for the night. She dismisses his idea, grabbing the wine glass and announcing she has a better plan. In a surprising move, she begins to pour the red wine from the glass. She spills the wine over herself, declaring that his stubborn refusal to accept defeat is what she enjoys most. Leon stares in disbelief, questioning her bizarre and provocative action. With a predatory smile, she offers him a drink in a most unconventional way. He's completely captivated by the intoxicating mix of her scent and the spilled wine. He finds himself unable to resist her alluring, if strange, invitation. Surrendering to the moment, he leans forward, accepting her unusual offer. Her confident facade cracks for a moment, surprised by his sudden compliance. They share a flustered glance, with him awkwardly seeking her approval. Regaining her composure, she leans in with a sly grin, declaring that it's not over yet. She gently holds his chin, giving him a silent, undeniable command. A close-up reveals her intent as she prepares to share the last drop of wine with him. The intimate moment shatters as she bites his lip, drawing blood and leaving him in utter shock. He pulls back in confusion, questioning her sudden and aggressive action. He stumbles away, recognizing the familiar, unsettling feeling of a forbidden technique. With a sinister smile, she confirms his fears, revealing she has cast the infamous blood curse. A strange magical pattern glows in his eyes, a clear sign that the powerful curse is taking hold. She confesses that she's missed this feeling ever since he used the same forbidden technique on her 2 years ago. He angrily demands to know if she understands the grave consequences of using such a dangerous spell. She smugly explains that she modified the curse, keeping its enchanting effects while minimizing the harm to herself. He struggles against the spell's power, his body overheating as his mind goes blank. She places a hand on his chest, remarking that she's always been the one to force him while he feigned reluctance. She whispers a provocative demand, challenging him to abandon his pride and beg her. With a triumphant smile, she announces the start of her game, enjoying his struggle against the curse. He pants heavily, clutching his shirt as he fights to maintain his composure under the spell's influence. She taunts him about his loss of control, asking if he's aware of his current disheveled state. To prove her point, she summons an ornate magical mirror with a flick of her wrist. She reveals the mirror is a recording device, forcing him to confront his own bewitched reflection. Under her questioning, he looks away flustered, stammering that he wants to kiss her. His eyes glow red as she sharply declares his answer is incorrect, intensifying the spell. Leaning closer, she playfully demands he speak up and repeat his desire more clearly. He blurts out her name and his desire to kiss her, horrified by the words the curse forces him to say. She mocks his loss of pride, relishing how he's now begging his enemy for affection. With a cruel smirk, she flatly denies his request, pulling away to heighten his desperation. The curse intensifies, leaving him speechless and completely under her spell's influence. Losing all control, he lunges forward, pushing her back as she feigns surprise at his boldness. He pins her down, breathing heavily as the curse overwhelms his every rational thought. Unfazed, she looks up with a knowing smile, teasing him for his uncharacteristic impatience. He takes her hand, his voice thick with emotion as he confesses his desire for her. Leaning in, he whispers his deepest desires, giving her a taste of the power she once felt from him. A triumphant smile spreads across her face as she savors the moment of his complete surrender. Pulling him into an embrace, she reminds him that this outcome is exactly what he asked for. She whispers her desire to see the proud dragon slayer finally break. The next morning, the sun rises over the silent silver dragon castle. In the queen's bed, her silver hair is splayed across the pillows. Leon jolts awake, finding himself in bed next to the still sleeping queen. He clutches his head, groaning as the memories of the previous night flood back. He laments how the blood curse stripped him of his pride, forcing him to surrender completely. Gritting his teeth, he seethes over the profound humiliation he endured. He glares at the peacefully sleeping queen, resentful that she seems unaffected by the night's events. His anger softens as he gently touches her cheek, noting how defenseless she appears in her sleep. He recoils in shock, horrified by his own tender gesture and the feelings it reveals. He questions his own subconscious actions, flustered by his involuntary tenderness. He tries to rationalize his behavior, desperately telling himself he only meant to wake her. He grows suspicious of her peaceful state, wondering if she's faking her deep sleep. Deciding to test his theory, he pokes her cheek and urges her to stop pretending. To his surprise, she remains completely unresponsive, a stark contrast to her usual disciplined nature. A sudden worry crosses his mind as he wonders if the blood curse is the cause of her unresponsiveness. He recalls the curse's dangerous side effects, deducing her own spell has put her into a week-long coma. He processes this new development, a thoughtful expression on his face as he looks at her. His expression shifts to a sly grin as he realizes this is the perfect opportunity to escape. He immediately begins his escape plan, knowing his special armor will give him the head start he needs. He calculates that with stamina potions, he has enough energy to run all the way back to the human realm. He gloats over the sleeping queen, certain that by the time she wakes, he'll be long gone. A triumphant laugh escapes him as he savors the sweet taste of his impending freedom. His confidence suddenly wavers as a wave of doubt washes over his face. The reality of his situation sinks in, and his triumphant mood plummets into despair. He considers the 2 years he's been gone, realizing he knows nothing about the current state of the human empire. Recalling the suspicious circumstances of his capture, he concludes that returning hastily would be too dangerous. He decides to wait for the results of his own investigation into his master's whereabouts before making a move. A gentle smile forms on his face as he remembers the most important reason he can't leave. Outside, his daughters play, with Muen chasing a butterfly as a watchful Noah tells her to be careful. He admits to himself that he can't bring himself to abandon his daughters. With a resigned smile, he accepts that he'll be staying in the castle for a while longer. He looks down at the sleeping queen, remembering there's another reason he must stay. A cunning smirk appears as he vows to get revenge for last night's humiliation. The queen, Rosweisa, continues to sleep soundly, unaware of his plotting. Later, she appears to be having a restless sleep, a bead of sweat on her brow. His daughters peer over the bed, worried that their mother has been asleep all day. Noah confronts him about the previous night, but he just nervously laughs off her question. She glares at him with deep suspicion, clearly not believing his weak excuse about a cold. He tries to deflect, turning to the maid Anna for backup and downplaying the situation. The maid reassures him that the castle physician found nothing wrong with the queen, aside from some weakness. Noah steps up, offering to manage clan affairs, and he casually agrees, sending her on her way. Muen sweetly promises her sleeping mother that she'll be a good girl from now on. He notices the queen is sweating, and thoughtfully suggests they should clean her up later. His daughter's suspicion flares, and she directly accuses him of plotting something while the queen is helpless. He quickly denies her accusation, insisting he only wants to care for their mother, which seems to satisfy her. Noah leads her sister away, with Muen promising to return and check on their mother the next day. Muen cheerfully waves goodnight to her father before leaving the room, and he returns the farewell with a smile. Now alone with the unconscious queen, he contemplates his next move, a thoughtful look on his face. Deciding on a course of action, he resolves to get a basin of water to tend to her. He wrings out a cloth, preparing to tend to the unconscious queen. Leaning close, he gently cleans her, telling himself it's only to prevent her from getting sick. He observes her vulnerable state, noting how her usual pride has vanished with her strength. A mischievous thought crosses his mind as he considers changing her clothes as well. Standing before her vast wardrobe, he sees the perfect opportunity for some light-hearted revenge. He selects a specific outfit, tossing aside a dress and stockings with a clear plan in mind. After finding the right clothes, he ponders how to create the final, essential accessory. A clever idea strikes him, and he begins to braid her long silver hair into a new style. He steps back with a proud, blushing smile, admiring his finished handiwork. His revenge is complete, having dressed the sleeping queen in a custom-made limited-edition bunny costume. He blushes, surprised by how well the provocative outfit actually suits her. Suddenly, the dragon pattern on his chest begins to glow with a purple light. He panics, clutching his shirt and wondering why the seal is activating now. He recalls the queen's explanation that the seal reacts to a certain kind of desire between them. In a frantic denial, he blames the bunny costume for his unwanted thoughts. He attempts to calm himself by reciting the Dragon Slayer's code of honor and shame. With a sigh of relief, he watches the magical glow on his chest finally fade away. Looking at the sleeping queen, he decides this rare sight is too good not to document. A brilliant idea strikes him as he remembers she owns a recording device. He immediately begins searching her room, determined to find the camera for his plan. He triumphantly holds up the camera, having found exactly what he was looking for. He gleefully snaps photos from every angle, documenting the queen's embarrassing predicament. Leon playfully forces her lips into a smile, determined to get the perfect shot. With a vengeful smirk, he vows to preserve these compromising photos forever. The queen suddenly groans in her sleep, her expression turning pained. He leaps back in a panic, terrified that his victim is about to wake up. After a tense moment, she settles back into a deep, peaceful sleep. He clutches his chest in relief, realizing it was just a false alarm. Deciding not to push his luck, he plans to change her back and continue his revenge tomorrow. The next morning, Muen excitedly runs through the castle halls, calling for her sister. Noah calmly asks her panicked sister to explain what's wrong. Muen reveals her puzzle cube is broken, and she can't find their father to fix it. A terrible thought crosses Noah's mind. Their father might have escaped. Taking her sister's hand, Noah promises they will search for him together. The two daughters hurry down the castle's opulent corridors calling for their dad. They search the vast empty halls, but he's nowhere to be found. Checking on their mother, they confirm their father isn't in her room either. The sisters continue their search, peeking into another empty room. Muin looks into a large barrel with a shocked expression, calling out for him. Noah watches in confusion, baffled by her sister's strange choice of hiding spot. Muin looks up with wide, worried eyes, asking her sister if their father is lost. Noah stoically explains that some people, no matter how nice, eventually leave them. Her sister looks back in confusion, not understanding the reference to a previous time. Noah's expression hardens as she pieces together her suspicions about their father. She concludes that he has finally made his escape just as she feared. A flashback reveals Noah's long-held belief that her family's harmony is just a fragile facade. She recalls how their father was first introduced to them while he was still in a coma. Noah remembers watching him attempt to flee shortly after waking, convinced he's an unwilling captive. She reflects on his recent attempts to act like a good father, teaching her and trying to get close. But she questions if his affection is real, or just a clever plan to find another chance to run away. Noah believes their family's love is tainted, fearing it's just a tool for manipulation. She's convinced he doesn't belong with them and will inevitably abandon his family. Muin cries in despair, fearing they've been abandoned by both parents and asking what their future holds. Noah comforts her distraught sister, promising to protect her no matter what. Muin breaks down completely, finding solace in her older sister's embrace. With a chilling resolve, Noah decides they must hold a farewell ceremony for their absent father. Meanwhile, the scene shifts to a tranquil, cherry-blossom-lined path near the castle. Leon stands admiring the scenery, confirming the maid's recommendation for a peaceful walk. A flashback reveals he had asked the maid about the queen's favorite places, wanting to go for a walk. He politely declined an escort, asking her to simply mark the location on his map so he could go alone. He sees the queen's coma as a golden opportunity to survey the terrain and plan a little surprise for her. With a wicked grin, he admits that scouting her favorite spots is just a cover for his elaborate revenge plot. His plan is to turn her beloved sanctuary into a stage for her own humiliation, paying her back in kind. He inspects a large cherry blossom tree, finding it perfectly suited for the scene he has in mind. He visualizes the perfect position for his revenge, imagining a moment of forced intimacy. Leon even considers the ground, planning to soften it with flower petals for the perfect romantic ambiance. The spot offers a perfect view of the castle, adding another layer to his carefully crafted plan. He meticulously adds the cherry blossom grove to his list of potential locations for his payback. With his preparations complete, he confidently awaits the moment the queen finally awakens. A glint of determination shines in his eyes, certain that this time she will be the one in trouble. Returning to the courtyard, he's met with the strange sight of maids weeping around a large bonfire. He approaches the group completely baffled by the somber yet bustling atmosphere. One of the maids explains the princesses ordered them to prepare a bonfire for a funeral. Muin tearfully offers a steak to a portrait at the head of the table, begging for their return. Noah holds a box of his belongings, telling her sister to accept that he's already gone. Realizing his daughters are staging his funeral, he decides to play along with their dramatic game. He makes a dramatic entrance to play the part of his own ghost, causing the maids to shriek in surprise. He approaches his daughters from behind, offering to play a funeral dirge for their ceremony. He finally sees the memorial portrait, realizing he's the guest of honor at his own funeral. He can't help but smile, admiring how handsome he looks in his own funeral portrait. He stares in utter confusion, completely baffled by the sudden turn of events. Muin suddenly beams, cheerfully wishing him a happy Valentine's Day. Noah joins in, offering her own shy Valentine's greeting. Even the queen appears in his mind, blushing as she wishes him the same. Snapping back to reality, he finds his daughters pointing at him with relief and excitement. He playfully chides them, asking if it isn't a bit hasty to hold his funeral after just one day. His light-hearted joke is met with Muin's tear-filled eyes as she calls out his name. Overcome with emotion, she leaps into his arms, clinging to him in relief. She sobs into his chest, confessing she was terrified he had abandoned her. He gently comforts his crying daughter, reassuring her that he would never leave her. Noah explains she thought he'd left after they couldn't find him, but he casually says he just went for a walk. A wave of guilt washes over Noah as she realizes she had completely misjudged her father. Holding Muin, he dismisses the maids, bringing the impromptu funeral to an end. Muin cheerfully asks if she can eat the steak left as a tribute, and he happily agrees. As she runs off to eat, he comically notes that her greedy appetite certainly didn't come from him. Noah sternly tells him to inform them before he goes out alone again, catching him by surprise. She clarifies that her younger sister, Moon, was incredibly worried about his disappearance. He smiles, realizing Noah was just as worried but is too proud to admit it herself. Averting her gaze, Noah admits the fault was hers for not trusting him in the first place. She offers a sincere apology, leaving him completely stunned by her change in attitude. He realizes Noah is taking full responsibility for the misunderstanding, even though she didn't have to. He accepts the blame, knowing her insecurity stems from his failure to provide a stable presence. He understands that Noah craves affection, but is too guarded to seek it, making empty promises useless. With renewed determination, he clenches his fist, vowing to earn her trust through his actions. He gently pats her head, promising to always be there for her as he invites her to dinner. The next morning, Moon peers into the queen's bedroom, checking on her still unconscious mother. The queen's eyes slowly flutter open, signaling the end of her magically induced slumber. Moon climbs onto the bed, overjoyed to see her mother finally awake. With tears in her eyes, Moon confesses how terrified she was by her mother's long sleep. The queen offers a gentle smile, apologizing for causing her daughter so much worry. The queen realizes her body is weak, unable to muster her strength or magic. She deduces the blood curse's backlash is stronger because she previously used her power to save him. Looking at her daughter, she assumes Leon has already taken the opportunity to escape. She asks Moon how long she was asleep, shocked to learn it has been 2 whole days. The queen decides she can still catch him and casually suggests they have fish for dinner. At that moment, Leon bursts in, proudly presenting a giant fish he just caught. He boasts to a delighted Moon, while the queen watches from her bed in stunned silence. His triumphant expression shifts to surprise as he finally notices she is awake. He greets her casually, but she sits up and demands to know where he was. With a charming wink, he explains he was just catching a fish to help his dear wife recover. The queen blushes, flustered by his affectionate term, while their daughter cheers him on. He quickly creates a diversion, giving Moon the glorious task of taking the fish to the kitchen. Moon eagerly accepts the mission, saluting her father with absolute confidence. With their daughter gone, he explains that he and her mother have private matters to discuss. She admits her shock, confessing she thought he would have abandoned them and fled. He removes his gloves with a smirk, declaring they have far too many unsettled scores for him to leave. The queen stares back in confusion, questioning what he could possibly mean. He leans closer with a sly grin, reminding her of what she did to him just over a month ago. Her eyes widen in dawning horror as she finally understands his dark implication. With a sinister smile, he confirms her fears, ready to enact his long-awaited revenge. The queen warns him not to take advantage of her weakness, clutching the sheets defensively. He angrily reminds her that she gave him no choice when their roles were reversed. She warns him to consider the consequences, promising he will regret his actions once she recovers. He leans closer, dismissing her threats with a confident smirk and calling her his dear wife. Without another word, he sweeps the stunned queen into his arms, declaring this the best decision he's ever made. With a look of triumph, he declares that it's now her turn to be the prisoner of war. He carries her through the cherry blossom forest, ignoring her desperate pleas to be released. As she struggles in his arms, he calmly tells her to be still or risk falling. She seethes with frustration, lamenting that her lack of strength is the only thing saving him. He arrives at the large cherry blossom tree, the very spot he meticulously prepared for his revenge. She sits amidst a bed of flower petals, angrily demanding to know his intentions. He smugly reveals he researched her favorite spots, promising this is just the first stop on their tour. Her eyes narrow in fury as she realizes his revenge is a multi-stop tour of humiliation. He gestures toward her distant castle, highlighting the perfect scenic view from their location. His voice echoes his intent, to make her feel the same shame he felt, right in view of her own home. He declares that payback is a human custom too, as the seal on his chest begins to glow. To her horror, the very same magical seal bursts into light upon her own chest. She clutches the glowing mark, as he reminds her that humans also have a strong sense of ritual and revenge. He seizes her chin with a sinister smile, commanding her to watch closely. He reminds her that the castle is the source of all her pride, the very thing he plans to shatter. He tells her she's now completely at his mercy, leaving her flustered and angry. He pushes her down, taunting her about being humiliated by the very man she defeated. He leans in close, reminding her that this is the same treatment he once received from her. The curse leaves her conflicted, her body betraying her will to resist his advances. A glint of defiance appears in her eye as she formulates a desperate counterplan. Suddenly, a powerful dragon tail wraps around his arm, catching him completely off guard. He stares in disbelief, wondering how she summoned the strength to manifest her dragon form. She challenges him to make the most of his advantage while he still can. With a look of pure fury, she vows to enact an even more brutal revenge once she recovers. Unfazed by her threats, he dismisses her talk of the future, declaring he only cares about the present moment. Beneath the moonlit cherry tree, he declares that his carnival of revenge has only just started. The following morning, sunlight streams into the queen's lavish bedroom. Exhausted from the night's events, he collapses into bed beside the still sleeping queen. He mentally retraces his steps, recalling the tour of humiliation he put her through all night. He observes her peaceful slumber, concluding that she seems surprisingly satisfied with the evening's outcome. The thought suddenly strikes him, and he questions whether his quest for revenge went according to plan. He clenches his jaw, desperately reassuring himself that she felt the full weight of her humiliation. Despite his confusion, he looks at her sleeping form and declares his revenge a success. Deciding their complicated relationship doesn't warrant sharing a bed, he prepares to leave before dawn. But as he moves to get up, her hand darts out, grabbing his arm and stopping him in his tracks. He's stunned as the sleeping queen groans and grabs his arm, preventing his escape. She shivers in her sleep, instinctively seeking warmth from the cold. He sternly reminds himself not to fall for her seemingly defenseless act again. Yet his resolve falters as he gently takes her hand in his. He carefully pulls the blanket up, ensuring she is covered and warm. Rationalizing his decision, he gets back into bed, admitting it's warmer than his own room. The next day begins, with lovebirds chirping sweetly outside the window. A sleepy Muin enters the room, worried that her mother is still asleep. She hurries over to the bed, calling out to her still unconscious mother. Muin gently shakes the queen, begging her to wake up as the day is nearly over. The exhausted queen weakly tells her daughter to go play with her father instead. Muin finds her father also asleep and tries to shake him awake. He murmurs in his sleep, enjoying the warmth and asking for a little more rest. Muin puffs her cheeks in frustration, annoyed that both her parents are ignoring her. She sees her parents locked in a tight embrace, questioning who is supposed to play with her now. Her frustration turns to curiosity, as she's never seen them this close before. She then notices the strange red marks covering their bodies, wondering about the cause. With childlike innocence, she concludes they must have been bitten by bugs. Recalling her mother's lessons, she dashes off to find medicine for their bites. She proudly presents a jar of 10,000 dragon ointment, ready to treat her parents. Muin proudly declares she will take good care of her parents in her sister's absence. With diligent care, she begins liberally applying the green ointment all over her sleeping father. Sometime later, Leon groggily awakens from his deep and exhausted slumber. He sits up, confused by the strange, wet substance now smeared all over his face. A comical scene reveals both he and the queen are now covered in splotches of green goo. Leon bursts into laughter, pointing out the queen's equally ridiculous appearance. Muin proudly explains she was just treating the insect bites she found on both of them. The flustered parents try to explain that some things are best left to the adults. Unfazed, Muin eagerly seeks praise for her thoughtful and helpful actions. With a strained smile, Leon pats her head and reluctantly agrees she did a great job. Muin cheerfully advises her embarrassed parents to lock their door next time. Later, Leon brings the queen a freshly prepared bowl of rice to help her recover. He playfully offers her a spoonful, insisting on feeding her himself. The queen looks away, flustered by his sudden and caring gesture. He explains that she must be hungry after days of sleep, ignoring her protests. She stubbornly insists she can eat on her own, trying to maintain her pride. After tasting the food, she reluctantly admits that it's surprisingly good. He proudly takes a bite himself, boasting that it was made with special care. A playful argument ensues as she demands another bite, trying to snatch the bowl from him. In the end, the bowl is left completely empty, a testament to their shared meal. He proudly recounts how he took care of her every need while she was weak and helpless. She scoffs, accusing him of using his care as just another form of torment. He cheerfully dismisses her accusation, framing his actions as the loving care of a husband. He casually waves her threats away, bidding his beloved wife good night before leaving. Left alone, she seethes with rage, clenching her fist as she vows to make him pay. In a fit of fury, she unleashes her power, striking the bedpost with a powerful blow. The force of her punch cracks the solid wood, a testament to her returning strength. She stares at the damage in shock, surprised by the sudden surge of power. A look of dawning realization crosses her face as she confirms her magical abilities have returned. Meanwhile, an oblivious Leon happily washes the dishes, humming to himself after their meal. He hopes she doesn't recover too quickly, wanting to enjoy tormenting her for a few more days. Later that night, a maid approaches the queen's chambers under the moonlight. The maid enters with a tray, offering a tonic prescribed by the doctor to restore the queen's strength. The queen calmly declines the medicine, stating that her body has already fully recovered. The maid's eyes widen in shock as she notices a huge crack in the wall behind the queen. The queen casually dismisses the damage as a minor slip-up in controlling her newfound strength. Just as the maid prepares to leave, the queen suddenly calls out to stop her. Hiding her blush behind a book, she secretly instructs the maid not to tell Leon about her recovery. The maid looks back, surprised by the queen's uncharacteristically coy request. A knowing smile spreads across the maid's face as she agrees to play along with the queen's game. The queen plots her revenge, vowing that Leon's days of tormenting her are numbered. 2 days later, an excited Muen runs up to her father, begging to learn the shiny magic. He looks confused as she excitedly demonstrates the magic she saw him and her mother use. Surprised by her sudden interest, he asks why she wants to learn magic now. Muen explains she doesn't want to fall behind her sister, who is learning so much at the academy. He smiles, understanding her competitive spirit, and confirms her desire to learn. He reflects on their sibling rivalry, realizing Muen's desire stems from her bond with Noah. He enthusiastically agrees to teach her, starting with the basics of magical guidance. A short while later, Muen concentrates intensely, struggling to channel her magical energy. After just a few hours, she successfully guides the magic, impressing him with her natural talent. He stares in awe, wondering if his daughter is a magical prodigy in the making. But her magical training quickly drains her, and she complains to her father about being hungry and weak. He smiles warmly, advising her not to push herself too hard so soon. Calling it a day, he leads his delighted daughter off for a well-deserved meal. Meanwhile, the maid brings the queen a requested item, but she seems to have other plans. Leon bursts into the room with a cheerful greeting, prompting the queen to dismiss her maid. He smugly recalls the maid's report, believing he has 5 more days to continue his revenge. With a wicked grin, he eagerly offers to help her recover with a personal massage. But the queen shatters his confidence with a taunt, mocking his lack of stamina after only 2 days. Her words hit him like a ton of bricks, leaving him seething with disbelief and rage. Fueled by her taunt, he grabs her nightgown, ready to reassert his dominance. She looks up at him, coolly admitting she considered showing him mercy, but now sees he doesn't deserve it. He leans in close, challenging her to prove her body is as resilient as her defiant words. Removing his shirt, he confidently warns her that she's about to regret her provocation. With a cunning smile, she declares she has never felt regret, leaving him momentarily confused. Suddenly, a powerful dragon tail coils around his waist, catching him completely off guard. He cries out in shock, his plan for revenge instantly crumbling before his eyes. With a single powerful move, she flips their positions, sending him flying onto the bed. She pins him down with ease, mockingly complimenting the strength he no longer possesses. Lying defeated, he stares in disbelief, finally understanding that her recovery was a complete deception. With a sly smile, she silences him, reminding her, dear dragon slayer, that captives should be quiet. His eyes fall upon a tray of restraints and a mysterious glowing orb, her tools for revenge. He stares in disbelief, wondering when she had the time to prepare such an elaborate trap. As the cold metal cuffs snap shut, he realizes he's walked directly into the tiger's den. Now blindfolded and bound, he's subjected to the ultimate humiliation, complete with a familiar accessory. She looks down on him with cold satisfaction, warning him not to even think about struggling. Sweating and blindfolded, he desperately asks if she's trying to torture a confession out of him. He boasts of his anti-interrogation training, but she merely scoffs at his futile defiance. Under the orb's influence, his resolve shatters, and he blurts out a surprising confession of desire. Horrified by his own words, he begs for release, completely losing control under the orb's power. The queen smirks, mockingly asking who is begging her so desperately. He stammers in utter mortification, unable to process his own words. In a panic, he denies that the pleading voice belongs to him, insisting it's just a coincidence. She taunts him, offering to bring the truth-telling orb even closer. The orb's power overwhelms him, forcing him to confess his deepest, most intimate feelings for her. Defeated, he bows his head, admitting he remembers everything and begs her to stop. Satisfied with his surrender, she sets the orb aside and picks up a new instrument of discipline. With a cold smile, she commands him to repeat his heartfelt confession for her amusement. She lifts his chin with the crop, threatening to remind him if he hesitates. Behind the closed doors, the sounds of her retribution echo through the room. The bedside lamp flickers out, signaling the end of the night's grueling session. The next morning, Leon lies in bed, completely drained and emotionally broken from the Queen's retribution. His brief respite is interrupted as the Queen reviews a letter delivered by a small dragon messenger. He weakly asks about the urgent late-night message, sensing that something is wrong. With a grim expression, she informs him they've been summoned to the academy the next day. The Queen then reveals the shocking news. Their daughter Noah has been involved in a fight. The scene shifts to the academy, where Noah stands defiantly in the vice president's office. Across from her stand 3 bruised and bandaged boys, the clear losers of the altercation. The vice principal explains to the assembled parents that they are there to resolve the conflict. The Queen's eyes narrow as she listens, already calculating her response to the situation. The Queen's fury erupts, believing 3 boys teamed up to bully her daughter. Leon rushes to Noah's side, anxiously checking her for any injuries. The vice principal corrects their assumption, revealing it was Noah who single-handedly defeated all 3 boys. The Queen's anger instantly vanishes, replaced by stunned surprise at the news. Leon turns to his daughter in disbelief while Noah maintains her calm, stoic demeanor. His shock quickly turns to immense pride as he gives his powerful daughter a congratulatory thumbs up. The vice principal explains the fight's deeper implications, involving a conflict between different types of dragons. He elaborates on the 2 methods of dragon reproduction, cocoon birth and live birth. A flashback illustrates that cocoon-born dragons are inherently stronger and more talented from a young age. The vice principal marvels at Noah's incredible feat, defeating 3 older, stronger cocoon-born dragons despite being live-born. An arrogant red-haired man arrives, casually offering to pay for any medical expenses. His confidence shatters as he sees his son's bruised face, demanding to know what happened. The boy runs crying into his father's arms, who glares furiously at the room. The Queen warns Leon about the notoriously arrogant Red Flame Dragon clan, but he scoffs, boasting of his past victories against them. The father turns on the Queen, accusing her of failing to discipline her child properly. He then insults the entire Silver Dragon clan, prompting a furious glare from Leon. The father demands an apology, but Leon just smirks, eager for a confrontation. The vice principal slams his hand on the table, demanding silence from the bickering parents. He calmly asks everyone to be patient as he recounts the events that led to the fight. The story begins in the cafeteria, where Noah accidentally stained another student's clothes with her food. He concludes that the boys cornered her in the dormitory backyard, leading to the altercation. When questioned, the 3 bruised boys nervously decline to add any details to the story. But Noah raises her hand, ready to give her own account of what happened. The vice principal gives her the floor, inviting her to share her side of the incident. She calmly explains that the boy provoked her first, and that she only acted in self-defense when they ambushed her. With an intimidating glare, she challenges the boy to deny her version of the events. The terrified boy quickly agrees, leaving his father baffled by his son's fear. Leon then interrupts, telling his daughter that he believes she handled the situation incorrectly. Noah clenches her fists, bracing herself for a lecture from her disappointed father. Instead, he advises her to aim for the knee next time, leaving her utterly perplexed by his fighting tip. He proudly explains his battlefield strategy, while Noah diligently takes notes on his fighting advice. The furious father points an accusing finger, outraged that Leon is openly teaching his daughter such tactics. He demands Noah's immediate expulsion, but her family stands united and unfazed by his outburst. The vice principal calmly intervenes, reminding the irate parent that the academy will handle the disciplinary decision. He then reveals that the boy has a history of bullying, and that witnesses confirmed he provoked Noah first. The father explodes in disbelief, unable to comprehend why his son is being blamed after getting beaten. Leon fires back, questioning the father's shame and complaining about his son losing to a toddler. The boy sheepishly reveals he is almost 8 years old, adding to his father's humiliation. Leon barely suppresses his laughter, commenting on how he would hide from such an embarrassing defeat. Enraged by the mockery, the father glares at Leon, calling him a coward for his taunts. The enraged father points an accusing finger, insulting the queen and her entire family. Hearing the insult, Leon cracks his knuckles, his patience finally snapping. He swiftly twists the man's arm, declaring that no one threatens his wife and child. The queen watches with a satisfied smirk, impressed by his fiercely protective nature. The furious father demands to know if Leon understands who he has just attacked. He boasts about his high status, but Leon just scoffs, completely unafraid of the threat. The queen watches the escalating confrontation with a thoughtful expression. She calmly interjects, pointing out that turning a school squabble into a clan war helps no one. She defers to the academy's authority, earning a nod of approval from the vice principal. The vice principal then turns to the fuming father, warning him not to escalate the conflict further. The enraged father threatens to have their children's enrollment revoked, but his own son begs him to stop, fearing he'll be kicked out of the academy. The father quickly backs down, composing himself and agreeing to the academy's judgment. He shoots a parting glare, vowing to settle the score outside of school grounds. The vice principal delivers his verdict, confirming the boy started the fight and Noah acted in self-defense. He sentences Noah to a verbal reprimand and a period of self-reflection for her excessive force. The three bullies, however, are assigned written apologies and a week of cleaning duty. With the matter settled, Noah waves to her parents and heads back to class. Leon can't resist shouting one last piece of advice, reminding her to aim for the knees next time. His enthusiastic coaching is cut short as the vice principal appears right behind him, looking unimpressed. Leon cheekily asks if the vice principal has anything else to add, feigning ignorance. The vice principal gets serious, questioning why he's never seen Leon's dragon tail. Leon panics, fearing his human identity has finally been exposed. The vice principal presses further, asking which noble dragon clan he belongs to. The queen smoothly intervenes, claiming he's just an ordinary dragon, a story he quickly confirms. The vice principal marvels at the miracle of a commoner and a silver dragon producing such a talented child. He eagerly encourages them to have more children, hoping to enroll them all in his academy. Composing himself, he shares his high hopes for Noah's future after she graduates. He confidently predicts she will lead the dragons to victory against the dragon slayers, leaving Leon speechless. As the family leaves, the defeated father watches them from the shadows, plotting his next move. The furious father scoffs and leads his entourage away, clearly not finished with the matter. Leon and the queen descend the grand steps, leaving the academy behind them. But their exit is blocked as the Red Flame clan leader calls out to stop them. The queen turns with an icy glare, annoyed by the continued confrontation. The father smirks, revealing his agreement inside was just a polite facade for the academy's sake. He gets in Leon's face, declaring that outside school grounds they'll settle this by Dragon Clan rules. With a dramatic flourish, he challenges Leon to a duel on the spot. The queen realizes they're trapped, knowing a refusal will brand their clan as cowards. The arrogant father presses his advantage, confident they won't dare to decline. Leon leans in to whisper to the queen, checking if she's well enough for him to accept the fight. He explains to the queen that since he was challenged directly, his honor demands he accept the fight. She gives him a stern warning not to go too far, which he accepts with a confident grin. News of the duel spreads like wildfire as students rush to witness the dragon fight at the gate. A look of concern crosses Noah's face as she realizes her father is likely at the center of the conflict. A crowd of students gathers on a balcony, pointing down at the unfolding confrontation. The Red Flame leader scoffs at Leon's casual stretching, dismissing him as a weakling who's all talk. He declares his intent to personally avenge his son's defeat by beating Leon himself. The arrogant father sets the terms, boasting that he'll concede if Leon can survive just 3 rounds. Leon casually picks his ear, completely unimpressed by his opponent's grandstanding. With an infuriatingly casual gesture, he beckons his opponent to begin the fight. The Red Flame leader roars in fury, accusing Leon of disrespecting his clan. He lunges forward, his fist wreathed in flames as he unleashes a powerful punch. Leon sidesteps the blow with ease, realizing this pampered noble is far weaker than a true battlefield dragon. He cheekily flashes a peace sign, playfully reminding his opponent that 2 rounds remain. The father seethes, grudgingly admitting that his opponent is skilled at evasion. He taunts Leon's courage and stomps the ground, causing fiery spikes to erupt from the pavement. Leon gracefully leaps into the air, easily clearing the dangerous ground assault. Enraged, the Red Flame leader unleashes a massive torrent of fire from his mouth. The huge fireball barrels towards Leon, who watches its approach with calm composure. Leon raises a single hand, preparing to effortlessly neutralize the incoming attack. Leon effortlessly ducks under the fiery assault, leaving his opponent wide open. With a confident smirk, he informs the stunned noble that the time for defense is over. He closes the distance in a flash, delivering a swift kick to the man's gut. The Red Flame leader stumbles back, shocked by the speed and power of the counterattack. Before his opponent can recover, Leon prepares to end the fight with a single, decisive blow. He lands a powerful punch, connecting squarely with the arrogant noble's jaw. The force of the impact sends the Red Flame leader flying across the courtyard in a humiliating defeat. Leon dusts off his hands, casually remarking that he didn't even need magic for an opponent of this level. The leader's two lackeys cry out in horror, unable to believe their lord was defeated so easily. He turns to the terrified underlings, cracking his knuckles as he asks if they'd like a turn. The terrified lackeys frantically wave their hands, refusing to challenge him. He orders them to take their defeated leader away and deliver a stern warning to his son. With the matter settled, he turns to the queen, ready to head back. He's surprised to find his daughter Noah standing at the bottom of the stairs holding a box. Noah explains she was just passing by when she noticed the commotion. She shyly presents the box to her mother as a gift. The queen opens it to find a large, heart-shaped cookie inside. Noah looks down, humbly admitting her cookies only won second place in class. The queen happily takes a bite, declaring it delicious before offering some to Leon. He enthusiastically agrees, proudly telling his daughter her baking is first-rate. Noah looks up at her father with wide, admiring eyes, telling him he was awesome. Leon blushes, completely stunned that his stoic daughter gave him such direct praise. He celebrates internally, overjoyed that their father-daughter relationship seems to be improving. He puffs out his chest, proudly boasting to Noah about his incredible power. The queen watches as he offers to teach Noah any fighting techniques she wants to learn. Her unimpressed expression reveals she strongly disapproves of his brawling style. Later, Leon diligently studies a parenting book on how to better communicate with his child. A sudden knock at the door interrupts his focused reading session. The queen enters his room dressed in a doctor's coat and carrying a first aid kit. He looks up in surprise, questioning her unexpected and professional-looking visit. He's taken aback as she sits beside him, wondering about her new approach. With a slight blush, she sternly demands he present his hand for inspection. She points out that his hand was injured during the fight, catching his attention. He glances at his scraped knuckles, dismissing the wound as a minor issue that will heal on its own. Ignoring his protests, she firmly takes his hand to treat the injury herself. She opens a jar of ointment, preparing a swab to apply the medicine. He flinches as she dabs the wound, but she calmly instructs him to hold still. The battle-hardened slayer reflects on how he's always treated his own wounds with casual indifference. He realizes with a start that this is the first time anyone has ever tended to his injuries so carefully. He becomes acutely aware of her gentle touch, a sensation both warm and unfamiliar. He blushes, trying to shut down the unfamiliar feelings her gentle care has stirred. With a rare moment of vulnerability, the queen sincerely thanks him for his actions at the academy. Her unexpected gratitude leaves him flustered and at a complete loss for words. She clarifies that he stood up for their family, acting as her partner when it mattered most. He coughs awkwardly, insisting his heroic display was purely for Noah's sake. The queen smirks, fully expecting his stubborn attempt to downplay his protectiveness. Later, Muen's invitation to visit her aunt is swiftly rejected, until she uses a secret threat to change his mind. The family travels to the Red Dragon territory, with the queen leading the way in her magnificent dragon form. She lands gracefully within her sister's domain, the ground shaking from her power. Leon, holding a sleepy Muen, gently wakes her as they finally arrive at their destination. A vibrant, red-haired woman rushes forward to greet the massive dragon, affectionately calling out to her sister. She swoons with admiration, praising the sheer awesomeness of her sister's powerful dragon form. In a flash of purple light, the colossal dragon begins to revert to her human shape. The queen is immediately swept into a tight, playful hug by her sister, who finds her just as adorable in human form. While still embraced, the queen prepares to make formal introductions for her family. She proudly presents Leon as her husband, much to her sister's surprised delight. The queen then introduces her two daughters, who politely greet their aunt for the first time. The aunt scoops up Muen, correctly identifying both children from the queen's letters. She then turns her affectionate attention to the reserved Noah, offering her a warm embrace. After a moment of hesitation, Noah shyly accepts her aunt's offer for a hug. The overjoyed aunt pulls both her nieces into a massive, affectionate hug. She expresses her sheer delight at finally getting to meet the two young dragon girls. Turning to Leon, she thanks her new brother-in-law for his hard work in raising the children. He humbly brushes off the praise, explaining that he simply enjoys spending time with his daughters. The queen immediately interjects, starting a playful competition over who the children love more. As they bicker, their aunt watches with amusement, noting how well they get along. Her comment leaves both Leon and the queen flustered and momentarily speechless. Sensing their exhaustion, she graciously invites the family to come inside and rest. Later that evening, after dinner, the aunt calls to the girls from the top of the grand staircase. With a mischievous smile, she offers to show them a photo album filled with pictures of their mother's childhood. Muen eagerly raises her hand, desperate to see the photos, while her mother looks on in absolute horror. The queen lunges for the album, but her sister playfully dodges, teasing her about being shy. The aunt and Leon exchange a mischievous glance, forming a silent alliance against the flustered queen. As the sisters wrestle for the book, Leon gleefully reaches over them, ready to snatch the prize. He successfully grabs the album, declaring his intent to uncover her humiliating past as she chases him. But as he opens the book, a brilliant golden light erupts from its pages, leaving him completely shocked. The queen watches in disbelief as Leon marvels at the contents, while their daughters beg to see as well. He holds up a photo of her as a student, commenting on how energetic she looked back then. The picture reveals a younger, confident queen in a school uniform, complete with her silver dragon tail. He dances around with the photo, mockingly asking how she became so cold now, much to her annoyance. The queen leans in, whispering a warning that her sister's teasing might soon be directed at him. Her sister gleefully encourages the girls to look through the album, promising many photos of their mother's childhood. The daughters marvel at the collection of photos, seeing their powerful mother as a small, adorable child. Moon points out a particularly beautiful photo, which their aunt reveals is from the day she became the Silver Dragon Queen. The photo captures her regal presence, seated confidently on her throne with a crown and a commanding gaze. Leon can't help but compliment her cool demeanor, but she simply scoffs, refusing to acknowledge the praise. The girls reach the end of the album, visibly disappointed that there are no more pictures to see. Seeing her chance, the queen quickly snatches the book back, declaring that the trip down memory lane is officially over. But her sister reveals the fun isn't over, presenting a glowing orb that makes the queen's face pale with dread. Leon's eyes light up with recognition as he excitedly identifies the mysterious object as a recording stone. The aunt tempts her nieces with videos of their mother's past, and the girls eagerly accept the offer. The queen desperately pleads with her sister, appealing to their bond to keep her secrets safe. Leon joins the plea, correctly guessing that her strong resistance means the videos must be incredibly embarrassing. The aunt savors the moment, holding the orb like a trophy as she playfully addresses her defeated sister. With a mischievous wink, she sides with Leon, deciding to humor her new brother-in-law on his first visit. Leon celebrates his victory, earning a furious glare from the queen who vows this will be his last visit. The aunt activates the recording stone, which begins to glow with a powerful blue light. A holographic image projects from the orb, displaying a precious memory for all to see. The queen's face pales with horror as she instantly recognizes the scene being played. In a panic, she lunges to cover Leon's eyes, desperately trying to shield him from the unfolding memory. The recording reveals a younger queen being interviewed by her sister about her ideal partner. Blushing, she explains her future partner must be smarter and more accomplished than her. As her younger self lists more traits, Muan realizes her mother is describing their father. Leon smugly agrees with her childhood criteria, earning a sharp rebuke from his mortified wife. Their aunt remarks on the high standards, noting how power can corrupt even the best. The younger queen declares she would rather stay single than settle for anyone less. She smiles, vowing to only marry someone who meets all her demanding qualifications. Leon stares at his wife in stunned silence, the weight of her words finally hitting him. A look of dawning realization crosses his face as he understands he is her ideal man. The flustered queen tries to downplay her past confession, but Leon just teases her about her embarrassment. The aunt leans in with a sly grin, eager to know who pursued who in their relationship. In perfect unison, both Leon and the queen point at each other, each claiming the other made the first move. The queen's eyes glow with fury as she glares at Leon, silently threatening him for his accusation. He quickly changes his story, admitting she pursued him first, but he later regretted his indifference and chased her back. Their aunt smiles knowingly at their dynamic, while the couple simultaneously denies having a good relationship. Upping the ante, the aunt offers to reveal the queen's old love letters, much to the children's delight and their mother's horror. The mortified queen demands to burn the evidence of her past admirers. Later, Leon whispers to the queen that they'll have to share a room, pretending it's an unfortunate necessity. They are both shocked to find their room has been transformed into a romantic suite, complete with roses and a prepared bath. The couple stands frozen in disbelief, utterly stunned by the aunt's blatant matchmaking scheme. The queen confronts her sister about the ridiculously romantic room, while Leon hides his face in embarrassment. With a mischievous wink, the aunt reveals this specially prepared suite is their lodging for the next 2 days. The flustered queen demands a different room, but her sister just teases her for being shy. Leon realizes his mistake, admitting to himself that he severely underestimated the aunt's cunning. He understands her true goal, to lock them together and ensure the continuation of their endangered bloodlines. Panicked by the implications, Leon immediately tries to make a break for the door. But his escape is blocked by the aunt, who appears behind him with a chillingly sweet smile. He desperately uses his daughters as an excuse, but she calmly explains that she's already made arrangements for them. Meanwhile, Noah and Muan are perfectly content, happily playing together in their own room. The aunt wishes them a good rest as she closes the door, trapping the nervous couple inside. The trapped couple sighs in unison, sharing a moment of mutual annoyance. Leon resigns himself to their fate, remarking on the aunt's sinister matchmaking skills. The queen opens a closet, revealing a wardrobe clearly chosen by her meddling sister. She confirms the door is locked tight, while Leon watches her futile escape attempt. Turning to him, she declares the room has only one bed and suggests he take the bathtub. He indignantly questions her suggestion, refusing to be relegated to the tub. She reveals the tub is already filled with hot water, another part of her sister's inescapable plan. With no other choice, he sits on the bed, noticing its unusual texture. He realizes with a shock that his devious sister-in-law has provided them with a waterbed. He playfully tests out the bed's bounciness, much to the queen's silent disapproval. The flustered queen suddenly changes her mind, insisting she won't let him enjoy the bed alone. He eyes her suspiciously, wondering what sinister plot she's hatching now. She clenches her fist, nervously demanding to know if he's going to join her or not. Her demeanor shifts to a wicked grin as she suggests they use the toys her sister left, terrifying him. He quickly backpedals, suggesting she take a bath first while he waits outside. Not trusting him for a second, she physically kicks him out of the room to ensure her privacy. Now on the balcony, he feigns indifference, trying to act cool despite being ejected. His casual act is shattered when he realizes he's not alone. The scheming aunt appears with a glass of wine, having anticipated this very outcome. She questions his presence, and he stammers an excuse about getting fresh air while the queen bathes. The aunt offers him a bottle of wine with a knowing smile, inviting him for a drink. Leon confidently accepts her offer, completely unaware of her true intentions. She pours 2 glasses, explaining that it's the same wine her sister usually enjoys. He accepts the glass, still oblivious as she watches him with a calculating gaze. The aunt reminisces about sharing drinks with the queen, and Leon comments on their close bond. She recounts their history, from watching her sister grow up to receiving a letter about her marriage and pregnancy. The aunt reveals that despite the news, the queen's letters were tinged with a deep sadness. She explains the queen wrote about his supposed poor health and the lonely burden of her difficult pregnancy. Leon looks down, realizing the pain she endured while believing he was her mortal enemy. The aunt bursts into laughter, admitting she initially thought he was a completely useless and lazy husband. Leon laughs awkwardly, denying her accusation that he's a lazy dragon. The aunt admits that after meeting him, she realizes her initial impression was wrong. As he sips his wine, she reveals her new theory. The queen actually likes him. The bombshell revelation leaves Leon completely stunned and speechless. He flashes back to the queen, unable to process the idea that she might have feelings for him. He internally panics, convinced that a vicious dragon like her could never fall for him. The aunt teases him about his shyness, pointing out how little he understands his own wife. Despite his inner turmoil, he realizes he must maintain the facade for her sister's sake. He forces a smile, awkwardly agreeing that they are indeed deeply in love. The aunt pats his shoulder, smugly stating she can tell just by watching their dynamic. The aunt explains that the queen rarely opens up to anyone, making her treatment of Leon unique. With a menacing aura, she gives him a pointed look, making it clear what his future responsibilities are. He processes her words, understanding her desire for them to secure the family line with another child. Forced to play along, he makes a grand vow to protect his wife and children with his life. His declaration earns him a sly, approving smirk from the manipulative sister-in-law. Satisfied with his answer, she physically pushes him back towards the bedroom to rejoin the queen. He glances back, finally understanding the full extent of her matchmaking scheme. As he turns to leave, she stops him one last time, feigning innocence. She leans in with a final, mischievous piece of advice, mentioning the room's excellent soundproofing. The implication of her words hits him with full force, leaving him completely stunned. He steams with embarrassment, completely overwhelmed by her suggestive parting words. He sarcastically thanks his scheming sister-in-law for her hospitality. He cautiously peeks back into the bedroom, checking on the queen. To his surprise, he finds the queen has already fallen fast asleep. He quietly approaches the bed, confirming that his formidable wife is out for the night. Relieved to be spared her wrath, he admits that his enemy looks surprisingly peaceful while sleeping. For a moment, he's captivated by her serene beauty, a rare sight for the fierce dragon queen. His quiet observation is interrupted as he notices a strange light. He stares in confusion at a mysterious purple light emanating from her chest. He panics, connecting the dots and realizing the wine has activated her dragon pattern. He checks himself in confusion, realizing his own dragon pattern isn't reacting to hers. Pulling back the covers, he discovers the source is a small, glowing, smiley-faced object. His investigation is cut short as the queen's eyes snap open, revealing she was awake the whole time. Leon recoils in comical terror, startled by her sudden awakening and the strange glowing item. With a wicked grin, she explains she found the glowing toy and decided to play a prank on him. She teases him with a sly look, questioning if he's disappointed by the harmless prank. Flustered and blushing, he vehemently denies having any other expectations. She playfully shoves him aside, declaring the game over and that it's time for sleep. She issues a final, playful warning not to get any ideas during the night. Having had her fun, she gets up, leaving him to stew in his embarrassment. The queen turns around, confused by a strange object dangling from the ceiling. Her composure shatters into pure terror as she sees a massive spider right next to her face. A sudden scream brings Leon rushing back into the room, demanding to know what's wrong. He's stunned as the terrified queen leaps into his arms, seeking refuge from the threat. Trembling, she points towards the bed, revealing the source of her fear. He recalls the childhood photo, realizing her fear of spiders is a genuine, long-held trauma. A wicked smile crosses his face, delighted to have discovered his formidable wife's secret weakness. He playfully boasts that she can't do anything without him, as she desperately urges him to get rid of the creature. With a confident swagger, he reaches down and easily picks up the large arachnid. He examines the object in his hand, a look of confusion on his face as he realizes it might not be real. He reveals the spider is just a toy, but she remains utterly terrified by its presence. Her fear turns to fury as she summons magic, demanding he destroy the object immediately. Panicked by her power, he quickly agrees to throw the fake spider outside to de-escalate. The toy arachnid soars through the night sky, finally free from the room's drama. With the threat gone, he smugly announces that it's finally safe to go to sleep. A sudden thought strikes him as he realizes the spider was likely another of the ant's schemes. The queen's shy expression confirms the prank was designed to make her appear vulnerable. Still flustered, she nervously dictates their sleeping arrangement, claiming the inner side of the bed. Feeling magnanimous, he graciously allows her to choose her spot, no questions asked. The couple lies awkwardly in bed, a tense silence hanging between them under the covers. Seeing her lingering fear, he cheekily offers to hold her hand for comfort. The queen stares back, her wide eyes betraying a hint of vulnerability. She reluctantly agrees, cautiously extending just her pinky finger towards him. He looks down at the awkward, minimal contact between their hands. Leon questions how such a small gesture could possibly make her feel secure. He fumbles with her finger, unsure how to proceed with the strange request. Losing patience, she grabs his hand and firmly interlaces their fingers herself. Now properly holding hands, he smirks while she pointedly looks away. Internally, she panics, wondering why she's the only one flustered by his casual touch. She tries to regain her composure, reminding herself that a queen shouldn't be embarrassed by such a simple act. He playfully questions her cold hands, and she retorts by asking if his sweaty palms mean he's nervous. She internally notes the warmth from his calloused, battle-worn hands, a stark contrast to her own. A strange electric feeling courses through her, where their fingers are intertwined. The queen is left blushing and speechless, completely flustered by the unfamiliar sensation. He brings up her old partner criteria, but she dismisses it, claiming she no longer has any standards. The couple lies stiffly in bed, both feigning sleep while hiding their embarrassment. Despite his calm facade, Leon internally panics, realizing he's far too agitated to sleep. He cautiously peeks over his shoulder, trying to see if the queen has actually drifted off. As his fingers start to go numb, he tries to secretly adjust his grip without her noticing. His subtle movement, however, only annoys the queen, who internally scolds him for fidgeting. She glares at him, silently questioning how a mere prisoner dares to touch his master. Deciding to retaliate, Leon playfully moves his hand under the covers to touch her back. A sudden jolt of electricity runs through him as their skin makes contact. He's confused by the constant sensation of her hand on him, a feeling that's both strange and new. He notes how soft her skin is, creating an unfamiliar tingling sensation where they touch. A strange feeling of hunger grows wildly in his heart, fueled by their proximity. The unspoken desire intensifies, with both of them wanting to do something more. They both sit up slightly, blushing as they finally acknowledge the palpable tension between them. The couple stares into each other's eyes, the air thick with unspoken feelings and flushed cheeks. Giving in to the moment, Leon moves over her, pinning her to the bed as the tension finally breaks. He leans in close as she sets a firm condition for this one night only. His dragon tail materializes as he embraces the moment, pinning her to the bed. The queen whispers his name, her expression a mix of desire and final surrender. Leon looks down, momentarily stunned by her uncharacteristically soft demeanor. He realizes with a shock that the dragon mark, which reacts to base desire, remains dormant between them. They close the final distance, their unspoken feelings about to culminate in a kiss. But just as their lips are about to meet, a sudden object abruptly breaks the spell. A large toy spider dangles between their faces, shattering the romantic tension. A terrified scream once again echoes from their room, piercing the quiet night. Watching from afar, the aunt smirks, satisfied that her little surprise has been discovered. Leon holds the trembling queen, reassuring her that the threat is gone and everything is fine. He confirms he's disposed of the toy and checked for other traps, leaving them truly alone. As she calms down in his arms, he can't hide his own flustered reaction to their closeness. She looks up, pointing out how fast his heart is beating and catching him completely off guard. He quickly makes up a flimsy excuse, claiming he's also afraid of spiders to hide his own nervousness. The queen, embarrassed by her vulnerability, tries to re-establish boundaries for the future. She makes him promise to forget the night's events, which he readily agrees to while still holding her. The next morning, bright sunlight floods the room, signaling the start of a new day. The queen awakens with a jolt, her eyes wide with shock and confusion. She sits up in a panic, wondering how she ended up falling asleep so soundly in his embrace. She glances around the empty room, wondering if he has already woken up so early. A sense of relief washes over her, deciding his absence is for the best. She blushes, admitting to herself that she's too embarrassed to face him after the previous night. As she gets out of bed, she reflects on how she broke her own long-standing rules for him. Now dressed, she stretches, mortified at having revealed her weakness and vulnerability to a mere human. With a determined look, she vows to bury the memory of last night and never speak of it again. But her escape is cut short as she opens the door to find her sister waiting patiently. The aunt greets her with a sly grin, eagerly asking for all the exciting details of their night. The queen erupts in chibi fury, demanding her sister never interfere like that again. Undeterred, the aunt leans in to whisper, mischievously inquiring if they made use of her special gifts. The aunt offers to pack some gifts for her sister, and then asks when she can expect another child to inherit her castle. The flustered queen quickly changes the subject, dragging her meddling sister away for breakfast. In the dining hall, Leon happily plays with Muen on his lap while Noah quietly reads a book. He playfully squishes his daughter's cheeks, enjoying a light-hearted moment before the meal. Muen spots her mother and aunt entering the room, happily announcing their arrival. The energetic child dashes towards her mother, eager to start the family breakfast. The entire family gathers around the grand dining table, sharing a meal together. A palpable tension hangs between Leon and the queen as they eat in awkward silence. He internally cringes, completely mortified by the lingering awkwardness from the previous night. He flashes back to their near kiss, blushing as he recalls how close they were and how he fell asleep holding her. An angel and devil on his shoulders argue over his feelings for the queen, one calling it treason, the other just common sense. His inner conflict escalates into a full-blown brawl as he distracts himself by noting his bread is a bit bland. He decides to liven up his meal, reaching across the table for a jar of peanut butter. But as he reaches, his hand accidentally touches the queen's, who is going for the same jar. The unexpected contact sends a jolt through them both, and they look up in mutual surprise. The flustered queen quickly pulls her hand back, insisting he take it first while they both blush furiously. Their aunt watches with a smug grin, playfully asking why they're both so flushed. They both stammer in agreement, blaming their red faces on the room's temperature. She ups the teasing, offering them a chance to cool off with a shower, causing them to shout in protest. The aunt inwardly delights in their reactions, finding their flustered dynamic endlessly entertaining. The aunt changes the subject, asking the queen about a recent run-in with the Red Flame Dragon clan. The queen recounts how Noah stood up to bullies, leading to Leon easily defeating a Red Flame Duke. Her sister smiles warmly, patting Noah on the head and praising her niece's strength. The queen angrily explains that the humiliated Duke then tattled to his leader Constantine. Leon recalls reading about Constantine, a legendary hero in the Dragon clan's history. The aunt warns them that Constantine has been aggressively expanding his territory and might use this as an excuse. The queen scoffs at the idea of him attacking her castle over such a pathetic reason. Her eyes flash with power as she declares she'll gladly retaliate against the entire Red Flame clan if provoked. Later, the family prepares to depart from the Red Dragon Castle, escorted to the city gate. The sisters share a final warm embrace, promising to see each other again soon. With a mischievous wink, the aunt hands her sister a parting gift, instructing her to open it later. She then turns to her nieces, encouraging them to grow up strong and visit her again soon. She gives both girls an affectionate kiss on the cheek, much to Muen's surprise. Finally, she turns her attention to Leon, her playful demeanor shifting to a more serious one. She firmly shakes his hand, reminding him of the promise he made to care for her sister and the family line. The queen watches their exchange, completely puzzled by this secret agreement between them. With their farewells complete, the queen once again transforms into her majestic dragon form. The family takes to the sky, leaving the aunt to wave them off on their journey home. Back inside her castle, the aunt reflects on the family's eventful visit. She walks away with a satisfied smile, amused by the young couple's dynamic and hopeful for their future. She muses to herself, already anticipating the arrival of another child. It's revealed that her final prank is a large toy spider, perfectly placed above a door. She recalls her sister's terrified scream upon discovering the dangling toy. Holding the toy, she smirks, impressed by how fiercely Leon protected his terrified wife. Meanwhile, miles away, Leon lets out a sudden, powerful sneeze. He sits with his sleeping daughters, rubbing his nose and sensing that someone is definitely talking about him. He reflects on the visit, realizing the two dragon sisters are completely different from any other royalty he's met. He recalls their deep affection, recognizing them as peaceful and fiercely family-oriented. He mulls over their conversation, realizing the aunt entrusted him with the well-being of her cherished sister. The scene cuts to the queen in her dragon form, her glowing eye hinting that something happened right after they left. Leon, perched atop the queen's dragon form, is questioned about a promise he made to her sister. He playfully teases the queen, refusing to reveal the secret agreement. The queen, in her dragon form, dives towards their castle, determined to get answers. Back at their castle, Noah and Muen sleep peacefully hand in hand. The queen enters their room, checking on her daughters before confronting Leon. Leon casually leans against the doorframe, awaiting her interrogation. The queen demands a live performance of a moment from the embarrassing video. Leon's mischievous plan is revealed, to use her past against her. He imagines a scene from the video where a younger queen enjoys bath time. The queen's anger flares as she realizes his intentions. The queen, now in her human form, whispers for him to follow her, a glint of payback in her eyes. She leads him towards the bathroom, preparing to turn his own blackmail against him. A silhouette appears behind the frosted glass, accompanied by the sound of someone happily singing about bath time. The recording reveals a much younger queen, covered in bubbles and cheerfully playing in the tub. Leon erupts in laughter, mercilessly teasing her about her beautiful singing voice, much to her silent fury. The enraged queen tries to destroy the evidence, but her sister playfully restrains her, vowing to preserve the memory. The precious recording stone is later seen safely secured in a box, having survived the ordeal. Leon can't resist mocking her further, finding the entire childhood scene utterly ridiculous. The queen's patience finally snaps as she glares at him, her aura flaring with a dangerous question. His mockery is cut short as an unseen force strikes him with incredible power, a clear message from his wife. The queen grabs him by the collar, her eyes glowing with a dangerous warning. In a flash of chibi fury, she wickedly suggests they finish what they started last night. Leon breaks into a cold sweat, finally understanding the true extent of her anger. He makes a desperate dash for freedom as the enraged queen orders him to stop. With a slam, he just barely manages to get a door between himself and her wrath. He leans against the door, thinking he's safe, but her presence is felt on the other side. The door cracks open to reveal her sinister smile as she gives him a 10-minute ultimatum. She leans in, promising to teach him a lesson for daring to bring up her embarrassing past. Defeated, he stands before her bedroom door as it clicks shut, sealing his fate. He comically slaps his own face, cursing the mouth that got him into this mess. He reflects on her intense reaction, admitting he didn't expect her to be so affected. A smug grin spreads across his face, realizing her embarrassing past is his ultimate leverage. He comically frames his impending punishment as a noble sacrifice for the greater good of teasing her. With melodramatic tears, he steels himself for the torture he's about to endure. He decides any suffering is worth it, as long as it makes the Silver Dragon Queen uncomfortable. Meanwhile, the queen blissfully enjoys her bath, completely unaware of his inner monologue. Resolved, he races back to the bedroom to face his fate head-on. 10 minutes later, a pained cry echoes from within the now dimly lit room. Leon lies defeated on the bed, begging his wife for mercy. The queen stands over him, now dressed as a strict teacher, and instructs him on how to properly address her. Leon compliments the queen's acting skills, calling her teacher. The queen scolds him for his presumptuous remark. She disciplines him, emphasizing her dominant role. She reminds him of his current subordinate position. Leon reflects on the unusual sensation of her discipline. He realizes the queen's intent is to humiliate him through roleplay. He understands the scenario. She's the teacher, he's the disobedient student. The queen stands over him, fully embracing her role as the strict educator. Leon decides to cooperate to end the game quickly. He apologizes and promises to be obedient, earning a sly smile from the queen. Leon feigns ignorance, asking his teacher to clarify the homework assignment. She scolds her student for his poor attitude, fully committed to her dominant role. He plays the part of the eager student, respectfully asking her to repeat the lesson. The queen moves into position, revealing the true nature of this unusual lesson. She issues her intimate challenge. He must make her dragon mark activate. Leaning in, she threatens a worse punishment for failure, but he defiantly accepts. He confidently begins the assignment, reaching out to start the delicate task. Leon smirks, recalling their shared history and knowing exactly how to get a reaction. Her body language betrays a strong response, proving his confidence was not misplaced. The flustered queen admits he learned his lesson far quicker than she expected. The queen lets out a sharp gasp, her body betraying her as he completes the first part of his task. In a bonus scene, she daydreams about a future beach trip with the children, holding a swimsuit from her sister. A faint purple glow surrounds her as she leans back, her dragon mark finally beginning to activate. Visibly flustered, Leon asks his teacher if he had successfully completed the assignment. With a sly grin, she informs him that what just happened was merely a pre-class warm-up. She moves her hand, signaling that the real, more difficult homework is about to begin. He stares in stunned disbelief, completely unprepared for her next move. Leon resigns himself to his fate, acknowledging that the great hero has been defeated by the Dragon Queen once again. He looks down in shock as his own dragon mark begins to glow intensely in response. The overwhelming tension leaves him flustered, a clear sign of the powerful effect she has on him. Leon finds himself overwhelmed by a sudden surge of intense feelings. The tension breaks as Leon leans in, their intimate moment finally arriving. The queen whispers his name, surrendering to the charged atmosphere. Leon questions her, surprised by her unexpected vulnerability. Their passion intensifies, pushing them further into the moment. Their hands intertwine, reflecting the escalating intimacy. Some time passes, marked by their shared experience. The aftermath leaves them both breathless and contemplative. Leon attempts to leave, seeking a break from the intensity. The queen stops him, preventing his escape from the situation. The queen smugly informs him that was just the first of many assignments for the night. Leon stares in chibi horror, realizing the true extent of his punishment. A pained cry echoes through the castle, signaling the start of a very long night for the hero. The queen tells her student to prepare for an all-night study session, sealing his fate. She awakens the next morning looking utterly refreshed and satisfied. In stark contrast, Leon appears completely drained, with dark circles and unsteady steps. His daughters immediately notice his exhausted state, pointing out his tired eyes. He quickly stammers a flimsy excuse, blaming his exhaustion on staying up late with homework. Muen innocently asks her mother if adults get homework, and the queen smugly confirms they do. The two girls are left completely baffled, pondering the mysterious nature of adult assignments. Muen excitedly announces she has discovered a powerful pattern about her parents. She astutely points out that when her mother is strong, her father is weak, and vice versa. Leon proudly pats her head, praising his daughter's sharp intellect for noticing the dynamic. He then strikes a pose with his daughter, vowing to defend her adorable nature. Meanwhile, Noah watches her family's antics with a stoic and unimpressed expression. She looks up as a dragon flies overhead, knowing it's time for her to depart for school. Noah turns to say her goodbyes to her mother and Muen. The queen wishes her well, while Muen begs her older sister to return soon to play. Leon also wishes her luck at school, promising to see her again next weekend. Noah gives a small stoic nod in response before turning to leave. With a flash of blue energy, Noah announces her departure for the academy. The family waves goodbye as the dragon transport carries her into the sky. Leon turns to the queen, cheerfully wondering how they should spend their day. Muen thoughtfully observes that her father's weakness seems to be a constant source of worry for her mother. Taking matters into her own hands, she declares she will personally oversee his training to make him stronger. The determined child grabs her father's hand, dragging him towards the training grounds for a run. The queen watches them leave, intrigued by their antics and deciding to follow. At the training grounds, Leon leads his struggling daughter through a series of warm-up stretches. He patiently explains that stretching is crucial for preventing injuries during exercise. Now dressed for a workout, the queen arrives with a maid, announcing she's joining their session. Muen excitedly asks if her mother will join their training session. The queen pats her daughter's head, warning her to work hard because she won't be going easy. Leon shows concern, advising the queen to be careful since she's not used to intense exercise. She smugly recalls her victory in their last spar, but he claims he wasn't using his full power. Muen eagerly cheers for a rematch between her parents. Leon gently scolds his daughter, telling her that children shouldn't be so eager for a fight. Muen's innocent question about why he can't beat her mother leaves him speechless. He quickly makes a face-saving excuse, insisting he only lets the queen win to avoid hurting her. The queen's powerful tail carves a line in the sand, setting a clear boundary. She challenges his stubbornness with a new competition, a race to see who can run longer. Leon confidently accepts her challenge, boasting that endurance is his specialty. Muen strikes a determined pose, declaring that she will join the race and won't lose. A maid acts as the starter, and the couple exchange competitive smirks ready for the signal. With a shout, the family dashes off, Muen leading the charge with a joyful expression. Leon smirks at the queen, cheekily asking if her tail gets in the way while running. She retorts that her tail provides excellent balance, a feature he should be envious of. Muen far ahead asks her father to show his tail, but he scoffs, claiming he doesn't need one to win. After just 2 laps, the energetic child is already starting to lose steam. Muen collapses to the ground, completely out of breath and unable to run any further. The maid comforts the exhausted child with a drink, praising her for her impressive effort. The maid and Muen settle in to cheer for the couple from the sidelines. Leon quickly realizes he's at a major disadvantage against a dragon known for her speed. Despite the odds, he pushes forward, knowing there's no turning back from the challenge. With his dignity as a dragon slayer on the line, he vows not to lose to her. He taps into his warrior's creed, pushing himself to the absolute limit to keep up. 20 minutes later, Leon lies on the ground, completely exhausted and defeated. The queen stands over him, asking if he's finally convinced, but he stubbornly refuses to admit defeat. She smirks, playfully taunting him to get up and keep running if he's so sure of himself. He desperately bargains for a rematch in 2 days, vowing he can beat her with practice. She scoffs at his request, doubting even 2 years would be enough, which only fuels his defiance. The victorious queen uses her tail to lift his chin, smugly asking if he's ready to concede. Leon glares back, his mind wandering to the simple pleasure of a relaxing bath. She laughs, proudly admitting her vindictive nature as he comically warns her against holding a grudge. The queen tells Muen they'll do other exercises since her father is too weak, and the child happily follows. Muen declares with fierce determination that her father's poor health requires a strict exercise regimen. Her blunt assessment leaves Leon completely stunned and speechless. As they walk away, he strikes a defiant pose, vowing that his fortunes will turn and he will be victorious. Later, the family gathers for a hearty meal to recover from their intense workout. Muen lovingly offers her father a spoonful of soup, ready to nurse him back to health. He obediently opens his mouth, accepting the food from his caring daughter. The queen coldly remarks on his weakness as he dramatically collapses onto the table, much to his daughter's alarm. He internally blames his exhaustion on the previous night's homework, convinced he would have won otherwise. She leans in with a sly smirk, provocatively asking if he'd like another homework session tonight. Her suggestion sends him flying back in pure comical terror. He panics, grabbing his daughter and hastily inventing a bedtime story appointment as an excuse. Muen's confusion is met with his silent plea to play along with the sudden plan. Seeing right through his flimsy excuse, the queen amusedly tells him to get an early night's rest. Muen happily agrees, leaving Leon visibly relieved as the queen watches with a satisfied smile. Later that night, the queen walks alone through a moonlit corridor, her expression serious. She suddenly stops, her sharp eyes scanning the shadows as she calls out for someone to reveal themselves. A maid materializes from the shadows, bowing respectfully to her queen. The queen turns, her expression serious as she asks for an update. The maid reports that she located the home of a man named Tiger Lawrence, but he and his wife have vanished. She adds that they gave away all their possessions, with one notable exception, piquing the queen's interest. The maid reveals the only thing they took with them was a single donkey. The queen connects the dots, realizing this must be the precious donkey Leon once spoke of. She dismisses the maid, ordering her to continue the search for her husband's mysterious master. Left alone with her thoughts, the queen stares into the distance, deep in contemplation. She questions the real reason behind her husband's master suddenly leaving the empire. A few days later, a shocking development rocks the entire castle. Leon and the queen are both stunned by the unexpected announcement of a family sports day. Noah calmly informs them that her academy is hosting the mandatory family event next week. The queen recalls her own academy days, noting that parental involvement is a curious new tradition. Muen excitedly asks her mother about her own athletic achievements from her school days. With a confident smirk, the queen proudly declares she was the undisputed champion. Muen then turns to her father, innocently asking about his performance, but he claims he wasn't ranked. He smugly explains his scores were so high the academy suspected him of cheating, leaving him unranked. He playfully pokes his daughter's cheek as she comically misunderstands his story. Leon clarifies he was cleared and later melted his medal into a bracelet for his grandmother, leaving Muen dazed. The queen questions his actions, but he cryptically states that some honors are better kept private. The queen turns to Leon, seriously asking if he intends to participate in the sports meet. Noah clarifies that the event is just for fun and won't impact her academic standing. Despite this, her expression hardens as she admits her own fierce desire to win first place. Leon recognizes that Noah has inherited the intense competitive drive from both of her parents. He and the queen share a knowing glance, silently agreeing on what must be done. They both place a hand on Noah's shoulder, promising to compete alongside her as a family. Muen eagerly volunteers to join, only for Noah to point out the 3-person team limit. Leon consoles a dejected Muen, assigning her the crucial role of official family cheerleader. Her disappointment vanishes as she passionately accepts her mission to support her family. The family rallies together, confident that with everyone working as a team, victory is within their grasp. A week before the sports meet, Leon begins his special training at the grounds. He's momentarily distracted as the queen joins him, stretching in her workout gear. He internally admits to himself that she looks stunning in any outfit she wears. With a competitive glint in her eye, she challenges him to a warm-up race. As they run, he learns the events are dragon-focused, including endurance and jumping. He brushes off her warning, but she insists the Dragon Clan sports meet is on another level. Leon confidently retorts that dragon slayers are not to be underestimated either. She playfully reminds him of his recent defeat, where he collapsed after only a few laps. Her taunt hits a nerve, leaving him fuming in chibi frustration. He loudly protests, blaming his previous failure on the all-night homework session she put him through. The queen strikes a pose, offering to give him some extra motivation for his training. She dangles the ultimate prize, a full week's vacation if their family wins first place. Leon's eyes sparkle with excitement as the queen confirms her incredible offer. With his fighting spirit ignited, he vows to bring home the championship for their family. He explodes into a sprint, kicking up a cloud of dust as he charges into his training. The queen watches him go with a satisfied smirk, admitting his enthusiasm is quite stimulating. After the warm-up, Leon sits hunched over and exhausted while she asks if his muscles are awake yet. He leaps up, proclaiming that he feels completely re-energized, as if struck by a dragon's power. She pulls a rope from her bag, explaining that the family unit nature of the meet requires new types of training. Holding the rope taut, she insists they must develop their mutual understanding in addition to physical strength. Leon recoils in shock, misinterpreting her intentions with the rope after their recent punishment. The queen scolds him for his wild imagination, asking if he's ever heard of a three-legged race. He sheepishly admits he's familiar with the concept from his own academy days. She instructs him to prepare as they begin practicing the basic movements for the race. The rope is secured, binding one of his legs tightly to hers for the exercise. Standing awkwardly close, Leon can't hide his flustered reaction to their forced proximity. They both resolve to finish the awkward training session as quickly as possible. With their legs bound, they take their first uncoordinated step together. The queen impatiently urges him to start moving, tired of his hesitation. He points to a softer patch of grass, wisely suggesting a safer place to practice falling. They immediately start bickering, each accusing the other of pushing as they stumble awkwardly. The queen smugly warns him not to slow her down, clearly amused by his supposed lack of skill. They both take a deep breath, preparing to start their run on the count of 3. Without warning, she explodes forward with incredible speed, her expression fiercely competitive. Leon is left in chibi shock, completely unprepared for her sudden burst of power. He is helplessly dragged along behind her, letting out a comical cry of panic. His desperate pleas to stop echo across the training grounds as she continues to sprint. After the failed attempt, she questions his understanding of teamwork while he reties the rope. She continues to taunt him for his inability to keep pace, but he simply dismisses her jabs. He proposes a new strategy, explaining a simple step-by-step count to synchronize their movements. He demonstrates his point by pulling her closer, his hand firmly on her waist. The unexpected closeness leaves the queen completely stunned and blushing. He explains this will shorten their distance, making it easier to synchronize their steps. Blushing but determined, she reluctantly agrees to try his unorthodox method. They set off again, their movements slowly but surely falling into a steady rhythm. The next phase of their workout begins, titled Queen's Special Training. She adds a grueling push-up regimen to his training, happily sitting on his back as he struggles. Just as his strength gives out, his arms begin to tremble under the strain. She offers some unconventional motivation, threatening a penalty he desperately wants to avoid. With the exercise complete, she flashes a victory sign over his comically defeated form.